Okay, Scott, it's the Cardinals and the Astros tonight, teams with diverse and distinct histories filled with great names. Names instantly recognizable, invoking strong memories. Stan the Man, the Toy Cannon, the Wizard, the Riot Express. The past is given way to the present. Pujols, Pettit, Carpenter, Berkman, Biggio. St. Louis and Houston. The road to the National League pennant has run through these two cities each of the last two seasons. 2 years ago, the Cardinals celebrated a Game 7 victory. And a year later, the tables were turned as the Astros won their first National League pennant and a trip to the World Series.
The Houston Astros are going to the World Series for the first time in franchise history.
Tonight, we'll close out the traditional first half of the season with two of the game's best hitters. Will All-Star Albert Pujols continue to lead the Cardinals, or can hometown All-Star Lance Berkman deliver another title for Houston? It'll be Andy Pettit, Chris Carpenter, two outstanding pitchers, a National League Central showdown on Sunday Night Baseball. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. And tonight, we are indoors at Minute Maid Park in Houston. Big crowd has gathered as the St. Louis Cardinals take on the Houston Astros. The Astros, the defending National League pennant winners. In Game 3 of this series last night, this three-run homer by Craig Biggio in the fifth inning brought the Astros back from a 4-1 deficit to a tie. Then in the seventh inning, the National League's RBI leader Lance Berkman with this RBI base hit, and they had a 6-4 lead. They still led 6-4. Two down, nobody on in the ninth inning. Brad Lidge in the mound, but Scott Spiezio hit a solo homer, and suddenly it was 6-5. Then a couple of more men reached base, and this base hit by Aaron Miles knocked in the tying run. The Cardinals rose from the dead. Roy Oswalt, headed to the All-Star game, came in from the bullpen, and he was greeted by Albert Pujols, who hit number 29. That opposite field blast, that proved to be a game winner, a loss for Phil Garner and his Astros. The Cardinals have won 2 out of 3 in this series, and right now they have a 3.5 game lead over the Reds, who lost today, 5 over the Brewers, who lost today, and 5 over the Astros, who will get a shot head-to-head with them here tonight. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Aaron Andrews is here with us. And, Joe, we were mentioning some of those great former Astros like Jimmy Wynn and company. Joe Morgan, of course, an original Astro all the way back in those 60s. I just want to let you know, even though it's so many years ago that I remember.
You remember. All right.
All right. Now, we've got Albert Pujols tonight, and he continues to play extremely well. He missed 17 games with that muscle pull, but he still leads the league in home runs. He got 29 home runs, 74 runs batted in.
Well, you know, the great thing about great players, John, is they can really focus in clutch situations. And I think that's what separates Albert Pujols from a lot of the other good players in this league. He can focus. And the reason that he can focus is because he has so much confidence in his ability. He's not afraid of their certain situations. He just focuses a little harder, and he always seems to come through. The only problem he has, he got to face Andy Pettit tonight, and Pettit, he's 2 for 17 against him.
Andy Pettit has always had the advantage, it seems, against Albert Pujols. Maybe that'll change tonight. Now, going for the Cardinals against Pettit will be Chris Carpenter. He was the National League Cy Young winner last year, and he also is headed for the All-Star game this year.
Well, Carpenter, we know he won the Cy Young Award, so that makes him one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. This guy has good stuff, and he knows how to use it. I think that's the key. He has a lot of confidence on the mound as well. I'm a little surprised, though, because he's got to face Lance Berkman, who leads the league in RBIs, and he's one of the most underrated players in the game, but he has not had much success against Berkman. 4 home runs for Berkman and only 18 at-bats against Carpenter, and that's really something because Carpenter, again, is one of the best pitchers in the league, but just tells you how good Berkman is.
All right, so we may have some advantages being seen there by the Astros. Aaron Andrews is here, and when we come back, Aaron with more on Andy Pettit, who's just about ready to go when we come back. Back in Houston, Andy Pettitte on the mound, getting ready to face the St. Louis Cardinals tonight, the final game before the All-Star break. Aaron Andrews is here with us with more on Andy Pettitte.
John, thanks. Well, it's no secret Andy Pettitte and Roger Clemens have a very special relationship. Pettitte calls it a competitive brotherly bond, and on the days that they both pitch, he says we're like sounding boards for each other. We'll keep an eye on each other. Pettitte even said before the Rocket signed with the Astros this season, he would even receive text messages from Clemens on suggestions about his game. And Joe, you told me today this is not uncommon for pitchers to do, but what Pettitte says is, I grew up idolizing the Rocket. We were rivals when I was with the Yankees and he was with Boston. Now we're the best of friends. I'm getting advice from this guy. It's been more than a pleasure for me throughout my career, guys.
Well, it's nice to see them reunited here in Houston. And by all accounts, Joe, although he's been making lots of money since he came to Houston, he would have stayed retired had it not been for Andy Pettitte coming to Houston.
Yeah. Well, Andy, you know, I was talking to him earlier this year, and he says he feels great. He says he has better stuff, he's throwing better, but his record is not better. And what he said he's been doing is making some mistakes in the middle of the plate. He said he'll pitch well, but he'll make 2 or 3 mistakes in the middle of the plate, and they do not miss them. So that's the difference. He'll just have to stay out of the middle of the plate tonight, and if he's healthy, he usually wins. So I think that things look good for the Astros the rest of the way.
So leading it off for the Cardinals against him is David Eckstein, and we are underway. Fastball in there for a strike. Eckstein hitting .310 with a homer and 19 batted in. And he gets on base a lot. 37% of the time he's been on base. That's a curveball for a strike.
Interesting. He's fastball, curveball. He's known for his cutter and his hard slider, but he's gone the opposite almost.
Another curveball. That's a base hit to left field. So Eckstein is aboard. Let's take a look at the rest of the batting order now for the Cardinals, presented by Taco Bell. We've seen Eckstein, the shortstop. He's got a base hit. Now, coming up is Scott Spezio, one of yesterday's heroes, left field. Albert Pujols, who got the game-winning homer. First base, Scott Rowland, the cleanup hitter at third. Juan Encarnacion in right field. The center fielder, Jim Edmonds, starting to come around. Yadier Molina, the catcher. Hector Luna is at second base, and Chris Carpenter, the pitcher, batting ninth. All up against Andy Pettitte. 7 wins, 9 losses for the year. And that fastball just misses inside to Spezio.
Spezio hit a home run last night to bring it to a 1-run deficit, and the Cardinals ultimately won the game, and he's rewarded with a start today. And he's a switch hitter. He hit the home run left-handed against Lidge last night.
The runner goes, and what a jump that was for Eckstein. Not even a play made on him. So David Eckstein just took off and steals his 6th of the year.
Andy Pettitte's known for his pickoff move, but you can see there he didn't even look at first base, and Eckstein took off on his first move. So there was no chance for Osmus to even throw to second base, but I think Andy just lost concentration there.
So now Eckstein at second base, and Pettitte pays attention to him here.
And he should, because one of the things that happened, I remember now, the Cardinals would do this with left-handed pitchers. They will try to run, especially if your second base. Is tougher for a left-handed pitcher to hold a runner at second base.
And Spezio bluffed the bunt there, took too low. The count to him is 3-0.
And one of the reasons it is tougher, John, is because when you whirl, you're going to have to find the shortstop who's breaking behind. Whereas a right-hander, when he comes the other way, he knows exactly where the base is. He's coming from the other angle, so it's easier to throw to the bag. Coming from the third base side, it's much more difficult for a left-hander.
3-0 to Spezio. And that's in there for a strike. Now, Albert Pujols is coming up next, and you said something interesting, Joe, at the top of the telecast about that Albert Pujols, the great slugger in the game today, but Andy Pettitte really has owned him. Albert only 2 hits in 17 at-bats against him, which is kind of hard to imagine because Pettitte's lefty, Albert's a right-hander.
If you wouldn't have showed me that statistic at the meeting today, I wouldn't have believed it.
Well, we talked to Andy Pettitte about that, and he said something about Albert Pujols that may help explain it.
Obviously, when Albert walks up there, you know he is in the box. You might be a little bit more careful. But if it does anything for me, I feel like it sometimes turns my intensity up a little bit more and my focus up a little bit more, and maybe brings out a little bit, better pitches, to him than to other people.
Well, that's the talk of a competitor right there. He wants to compete against a guy, and that's part of the battle right there. Some other pitchers are a little afraid. They don't want to pitch to the guy. He says, I'm going to compete against him.
So 2 men on, nobody out. Now it's 0-1.
And he goes right after him. See, I mean, he, like you say, he turns up his intensity. We talked about Pujols being able to focus better and turn up his intensity in clutch situations. Well, Andy Pettit's able to do the same thing, obviously, against guys like Pujols when he knows they're, like you said, you know he's in the batter's box, so he gets your attention.
Now, nobody owns Pujols the way Andy Pettit owns him. Nobody. Just off the inside with the fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. In fact, that batting average 118. Actually, there's one other guy, Joe.
Okay.
That's identical, and that's Jason Schmidt, who's going to be in the All-Star team from the Giants. He's 2 for 17 against Schmidt. At least Schmidt's right-handed.
Yeah.
You know, you can understand a little bit more. A ball and a strike to count. Time taken. A ball and a strike to Albert Pujols with 2 men on. So this is a spot where the Cardinals have a chance to get a big early lead. Albert's hit some big home runs here, including yesterday. And that unforgettable home run in Game 5 of the League Championship Series against Brad Lidge last year that tied the game, which they eventually won. And they chased that one. Slider, cutter, what do you think?
That was a slider. I talked to Andy Thursday. I was here and I did the game, and I was leaving and we were walking out the tunnel together. And I said, you know, I'm going to call some of them sliders because they're too big to be cutters. He said they are sliders. Some of them are cutters, some of them are sliders. The slider's a little too big to be called a cutter. It's just a hard curve technically.
And that home run, by the way, that he hit in Game 5 against Lidge last year, that was a game-winning home run. 3-run shot. That one is a base hit into left field. Toward the line. Preston Wilson cuts it off. Eckstein's going to score. The throw to third. And he's out at third. Spezio is thrown out at third by Preston Wilson as Pujols takes second. But the Cardinals have a 1-0 lead.
Well, good hitting by Pujols, but not good base running by Spezio. There's the cutter. He tries to get it in on him. Then there's a little bigger cutter. And there's the curveball we talked about, or the slider. And you see there's a little cutter that he tries to get in, and he doesn't get it in enough. That was the problem. That's what he's talking about. He hasn't been able to get it in enough. You see Eckstein scoring, but on a throw, base hit to left field is too short a throw in this ballpark for you to make it to third base from first in most cases, and Spezio was thrown out.
Now Scott Rowland, and that's just off the outside. 1 ball and no strike. Now Rowland has really bounced back after his shoulder surgery. He's hitting .333, 13 homers, 54 batted in, 28 doubles. Got the 5th best batting average in the National League. Albert Pujols, by the way, just got his 75th RBI of the year. He's second in the league in RBIs, even with all the games he missed. Pettit handled that one like a soccer goaltender in the World Cup. And that is out number 2. Let's go to Bill Pito for an update now.
All right, John Bridgestone takes us to Chicago. Red Sox, White Sox. It's the longest game of the year. Alex Cora here. Top 19. Jermaine Dye. Track. Wall. And he makes a catch. Still tied at 5 going to the bottom of the 19th inning.
All right, Bill, thanks. And it's Jermaine Dye's fault. He's the one who hit the home run against Papelbon in the 9th inning of that game.
To extend the game to extra innings.
Both teams got 2 runs in the 11th. And now they're in the 19th. Juan Encarnacion got 46 RBIs. He's been a very nice pickup for the Cardinals. Remember, they lost Reggie Sanders in the offseason. He went to Kansas City. There goes Pujols. The ball's bounced over the middle. There's Everett, and that's the inning. The Cardinals get 1. Now Chris Carpenter will take the hill. The Astros are coming up. Minute Maid Park in Houston. It is 1-0. The Cardinals Out in front, here's the Astros come to bat now in the last of the first inning. The Astros batting order presented by Taco Bell is speedster Willie Taveras in center field. Then Mike Lamb having a very fine season. Third base. Chris Burke at second base. Craig Biggio getting the night off. Lance Berkman, the league's leading RBI man. First base. Preston Wilson in left field. And then Jason Lane in right field. He has really struggled this year. Adam Everett, the shortstop, hitting seventh. Brad Ausmus, the catcher, has been in a slump lately. And then Andy Pettit, the pitcher, batting ninth. And on the mound for the Cardinals, Cy Young winner last year in the National League, Chris Carpenter.
Well, Carpenter is one of the, as we talked about, one of the best pitchers in the league because he's very consistent with all of his pitches. He has 3 quality pitches that he can get you out with, and I think that's the key.
A bloop to Eckstein, and Taveras is gone on 1 pitch, and that's
one of the things that he does well, John. He runs the fastball in on the right-handers, but he has those 3 pitches: good fastball, good curveball, and he also has a changeup that he throws, and he also has a sinker, and he will throw you any pitch, any time. I think that's what really keeps the hitters off balance. You never know exactly how he's going to come after you.
But that about was also one of the problems with Willie Taveras as a leadoff man.
Definitely.
I mean, he's a little over anxious up there. Almost never gets a walk.
And that pitch was out of the zone anyway. It wasn't a strike.
Taveras into the game hitting only .258 and only a .313 on base average. Mike Lamb, that ball is drilled into the corner and fouled. Mike Lamb hitting .335. And lately he's been hitting so well they just had to find a place for him. Now Morgan Ensberg is the regular third baseman, but he'd been slumping, hitting only .236. So Lamb is getting the call against Carpenter at third base tonight. That's back to the screen. Fastball from Chris Carpenter. Tony La Russa asked about Carpenter between this year and last year. He says, well, his stuff is as good as ever. If there's any difference, he says last year he went through a stretch for about 3 months where wherever he wanted to put the ball, that's right where he put it. His control was astounding. He says he hadn't had that kind of sharpness all the time. But he says the big difference is just that he doesn't have as many wins. The Cardinals have not scored many runs for him. He's 5th in the league in ERA. Edmonds, he's got it. 2 down.
Well, the one thing you'll notice about Carpenter is that he'll keep the ball off the middle of the bat. He'll hit some off the end. Guys will get jammed. He will not be able to. You don't see the guys centering him up very well. And there you see the big reason that the Cardinals have struggled, especially in the last 18 ball games, is their rest of the starters just have not pitched well.
Here's Chris Burke, and that is a little bit low, ball 1.
See, I don't think the Cardinals are as good a team this year as they were last year, John, and that's mainly because of their starting pitching. Their starting pitching last year was pretty consistent. They'd keep them in the ball game until they scored runs. That has not been the case so far this year.
1-2 to Burke. On deck, Lance Berkman. Burke would like to keep the inning going, get Berkman up there. It's interesting. It tells you a little bit about the Astros offense and their offensive woes. The fact that Burke is the third place hitter.
Yeah, tells you a lot.
Curveball gets him, and the Astros are gone in order. Berkman stranded on deck. On to the second inning. Jim Edmonds coming up. 1-0 Cardinals. Summertime in Houston, and there's a family enjoying the ball game together. Dad and the kids. Cardinals lead the Astros 1-0 as Andy Pettit goes to work to Jim Edmonds. And a foul off to the right. Edmonds will struggle with the bat this year at times, although he feels like he's starting to come out of it now, and has also had some physical ailments that have limited him a little bit, although you wouldn't have been able to tell that by the catch he made here on Friday night, which was a spectacular catch out on Towles Hill out there.
Second best catch I've seen this year.
Gary Matthews Jr.?
Gary Matthews Jr. is the best catch I've seen ever.
That's a foul out of play. Well, let's go back to Friday and check out the second best catch of the year. That ball, I mean, that's a long way to go in center field to here. And then up on the hill.
Unbelievable catch. But he does, you know what he does the right way, John? A lot of guys running sideways, try to run up that hill sideways. You can't do it. He turned and ran up the hill facing the hill. And therefore he was able to run up the hill without falling. You see most guys, they go sideways because they're running at an angle and they fall going up that hill. He doesn't do that. He didn't do it on that play. He turned around and faced the hill. But he made it a tough catch over his shoulder now, but he faced the hill.
Down the right field line. That one is in there, base hit. Jason Lane has to go in and dig it out, and it's a stand-up double for Jim Edmonds. Meanwhile, what about that forever game in Chicago? Red Sox, White Sox. An update from Bill Pito.
All right, John, it's finally over. Tadahito Iguchi, the 4th straight White Sox single in the bottom of the 19th ball game. White Sox win the longest game of the year, 6-5-19. Red Sox hit the break, leading the Yanks by 3. White Sox trailed Detroit by 2 games.
Yeah, the Tigers were beaten today by the Seattle Mariners, so the White Sox gained some ground against the Tigers, which almost never happens, at least so far this year. There's a ground ball foul by Yadier Molina. Iguchi, who of course did some incredible things
when we were there
against the Astros a couple weeks ago.
But I tell you what, that was a big game for the White Sox, because they would have been swept by Boston. And it's not just the fact they would have dropped another game to Detroit, but, you know, just for their own psyche going into the All-Star break.
Right back to Pettit. That will keep Edmonds at second base, and Molina is unable to move Edmonds over.
Well, he didn't try on the first pitch, John. He tried to pull the ball on the first pitch, and he tried to go back the other way on that one, but Andy Pettit made a good pitch by jamming him, and he got a ground ball back to the pitcher. And, you know, and speaking of must victories, I think this is a must for the Astros, that they're trying to send a message to St. Louis that we're going to be there for you again to face you at the end, because, you know, they won the first ball game and they lost the next 2. If they lose this one, you know, it's a big difference. Yesterday they could have gone to 3 behind, and instead they went to 5. If they lose today, of course, they would go to 6 behind. So big game for the Astros.
A roller off the bat of Luna. And over to third base goes Edmonds, and that is out number 2. Now let's go to the studio. Bill Pito for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, John, Italy wins the World Cup in penalty kicks over France. Only the 2nd World Cup final ever decided in penalty kicks. France's superstar Zidane red-carded in the 110th minute. Roger Federer beat Rafael Nadal today in the Wimbledon final in 4 sets. Federer wins his 4th straight Wimbledon title and avenges his French Open finals loss to Nadal. Constant updates on mobile ESPN. Next SportsCenter after the game.
All right, Bill.
Did you watch that game today?
The World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, John, they play for 3 weeks or whatever, and then you go to penalty kicks. I don't like that.
Yeah.
They should just take each side, have 5 guys on each side and go play, and somebody would score.
Oh, you mean just...
Yeah, like they do in hockey. Take some guys off the field. You get 2 forwards, 2 defensemen, and let's play.
Maybe you could play half court.
Something you just can't. Yeah, but a penalty kicks, man, please. You know, when you played that long, that
like
hard.
Deciding an NBA game on free throws.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it would be like.
So Shaq's team would almost never win. 0-2 the count to Chris Carpenter, runner at third. Strike 3 call. Leadoff double by Edmonds, but he is stranded. Cardinals lead 1-0. Lance Berkman, the National League's leading RBI man, is coming up when we come back. Now the Astros, and here's Lance Berkman against Chris Carpenter. Berkman has 4 homers and 18 career at-bats against Carpenter. And a first pitch curveball in there for a called strike. And a check swing there by Berkman.
John, the only pitch I've seen bother Berkman is a straight changeup and a curveball that breaks out of the strike zone. He can handle the curveball that is in the strike zone.
Well, he took something off that pitch, and Berkman just got a piece of it, and the count is 0-2.
And I think that's how you have to pitch him. I mean, you can't just throw him all off-speed pitches. You have to mix some pitches in, but that's the only pitch that I've seen that bothers him at all is the off-speed stuff.
But usually his best at-bat is his first one of the game. He's hitting .435 in his first at-bats of the year. Curveball misses, only hitting .285 the rest of the time, Joe, which is pretty good.
Can't hit in the clutch, huh?
Well, I mean, maybe the first at-bat is a clutch at-bat most of the time. 1-2 the count.
See,
and he fights that one off.
I like the target there. you could see Molina had his glove on the ground. What they're trying to do is get him to chase the breaking ball out of the strike zone. Watch, his glove was down on the ground. He raised it up, but he even threw a strike with that one. But you're trying to get it low out of the strike zone.
1-2. Fastball way inside. Berkman, now this is a good ballpark in which to hit, but he's got more homers and more RBIs and even a better slugging percentage in his road games than in this ballpark.
That's shocking.
Over the years. So he's just a good all-round hitter no matter where he's playing.
You see, he tried to call timeout there. He didn't get it.
Umpire must have, do you think the umpire says no, or does he?
No, I think he thought it was too late. He just didn't react because he was trying to call timeout.
Stuck his hand back a little bit, took it off the bat, and the umpire did not give him timeout. 2-2 the count. He struck him out. Chris Carpenter, who was talking about Lance Berkman and facing Berkman about how tough he is, and he thinks he's underrated, Joe.
Well, I agree with him. First pitch curveball for a strike. A little changeup. Another curveball away. Another curveball low. Now he comes inside with a fastball to keep him honest. Fastball away, and then he comes right back down and in with a fastball. I mean, he was all over the map there with Berkman, and he won that battle.
He had to work hard to do it.
You know, one of the
Ball one to Preston Wilson, who's up now with 1 out.
John, I want to point out one thing against these two lineups. We're talking about Berkman and Pujols. They're the two stars on both teams. Well, Pujols hits in the first inning. He hits third. And what that does is the pitcher, when he walks out there, he's trying to find his rhythm. And he knows that he's going to have to face their best hitter in the first inning. I think it makes a difference. Whereas if you're Carpenter going out there, you say, well, I don't have to face Berkman if I get the first 3 guys out, which he did. Now he's facing Berkman with the bases empty. There's a big difference in the fact that knowing that that guy's going to hit in the first inning, the best hitter on the team, and also knowing that that might mean an extra at bat in the game for him. I know why Garner hits Berkman fourth, because he's trying to get some people on so they can't walk him.
Scott Rowland throws out Preston Wilson, and there are 2 men gone.
That's always been my argument, you know, with the Barry Bonds thing. You know, a lot of people, you know, I always thought Barry should hit third, and he did for a long time early in his career. But I think now, because they walk him so much, they're trying to get runners on so they can't walk him. But I still think that third place hitter is your best hitter and your most dangerous hitter in the ball game. If you force feed him in that first inning, it puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher coming out of the gate.
Yeah. Well, Jerry Narron in Cincinnati agrees with you.
Oh.
Ken Griffey Jr. hits third.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the pitcher coming out there. He's trying to find his rhythm and so forth and so on. And he knows that that best hitter is lurking there in the first inning. I think it makes a big difference.
Chipper Jones, Atlanta.
Willie Mays used to hit third. Hank Aaron.
He was pretty good. Yeah.
Hank Aaron. He was pretty good. He used to hit third. Yeah.
Another name I recognize.
Yeah.
who used to hit third with the big red machine? Yeah, let's see. They had Rose.
Yeah, but he wasn't as
Van
dangerous.
Perez.
He wasn't as dangerous as those guys. I was there to get a walk.
You used to get a lot.
I was there to get on base for those guys.
So if you were on the team, then Pujols and Berkman and Bonds should hit fourth.
Yeah, they hit fourth.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
That's okay.
All right. So I know what we're talking about here.
If they were on second, I'd hit second.
Big Poppy.
Yeah.
Third.
Yeah, he hits third.
He's got a pretty good guy hitting cleanup, though.
Yeah.
Behind him.
But I still think that third place hitter changes the pitcher's outlook.
Pop fly by Jason Lane, and there's Edmonds chasing off Luna, and the inning is over. 6 in a row retired by Chris Carpenter. Top of the order, Eckstein, Spezio, and Albert Pujols. We're in Houston, Sunday Night Baseball in our 17th season, leading into our 17th All-Star break on ESPN, and Home Run Derby tomorrow night. David Eckstein leads off. He singled his first time on a 2-strike pitch, and that started a rally for the Cardinals. He eventually scored the first run of the game. He'll be followed by Scott Spezio and then Albert Pujols against Andy Pettit.
I'm going to Pittsburgh tomorrow for the Home Run Derby. You want to go with me?
I'm a little busy.
Oh, okay.
So you have plenty of guys already there.
Yeah, I agree, but
they don't need me. 3-1 the count to Eckstein. You'll be hanging out with Boomer and Carl Ravitch. You got a few other guys doing that home run derby.
Harold Reynolds.
You got more guys commentating on the home run derby than in the home run derby. 3-2. That should be already pretty well covered, Joe.
All right.
3-2 the count. There is Lane. Looked like he may have had to battle the lights there a little bit at the last. So there's one away. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central on ESPN. And the contestants, David Ortiz, got 31 homers. Jermaine Dye hit number 25 today. Troy Gloss got 23 now. Miguel Tejada in the American League, as you would expect. Got a pretty imposing array of sluggers. David Wright, Miguel Cabrera will be there for the National League, along with Lance Berkman, Ryan Howard, and Albert Pujols will not be in the home run derby, Joe. How come?
Well, I talked to him today, and Johnny said he wished he could do it because, you know, the fans voted him in. He said, but, you know, the injury he had, remember the oblique muscle? He said he can't risk it. He said, but he wishes he could simply because the fans voted him in.
And Scott Spezio,
you know,
with a pop-up caught by Burke.
Let's take a quick look at Albert Pujols' swing, John. You know, one of the things, I want you to watch his eyes. I want the fans to watch his eyes. He has great balance, but that's created by the wide base. That keeps him from, you know, jumping out. And look at his head movement. It almost stays in the exact same spot as where it started. What that really does is keep your eyes focused on the ball. But if your head moves, that means the ball's jumping around. And he doesn't have much head movement. He doesn't use much of his legs. You've got to be very strong to hit that way, just with his upper body.
So he almost always makes contact, and Burke can't find it. Finally gets it over there, but Pujols is safe. Burke looked everywhere in the ballpark except right down beneath him.
That's one of the dangers of playing out on that grass, John, because you're not getting the same bounce that you get off of dirt. Infielders practice catching the ball off of dirt. They don't stand out there in the outfield and take ground balls. See, that ball hits the grass, and he didn't know what it was going to do. When it hits the ground, dirt, you know it's going to bounce. That ball kind of skipped on him because he's on the outfield grass, and he wasn't able to make the play.
That is an error on Chris Burke, as you might expect, and the batter, Scott Rowland. And Pujols is going to have to be careful with that deceptive motion of Andy Pettitte over there. Well, Albert likes to occasionally go out and steal a bag.
Yeah, but what he's going to do, he's just going to go on the first movement. He's going to think, try to outsmart Pettitte. That's what we saw Eckstein do. He just decided he wasn't going to throw in that particular pitch, and you take off on his first movement.
So if he guesses wrong,
you're out.
Then he'll be picked off.
Yeah, but you also, if you take off immediately, you may have a chance of making it to second base.
Make that first baseman make a good throw over there.
Exactly. And obviously, if you picked off, you run at an angle, so you try to, you know, block his throw. You get in line with whoever's taking.
They can do that?
Well, yeah.
Is that fair? Is that
fair?
Is that sporting?
That's sporting. You try to get in line with him.
Now, if you get picked off and you're heading for second,
you look to see who's covering.
So if it's the shortstop, you move inside?
Yeah. And if the second baseman, you probably can stay in the same lane you're in.
Well, I hope he gets picked off now, just so we can see it. And if he's going to get picked off, Pettitte's just the guy. That ball is a soaring fly ball into shallow left. There is Preston Wilson. And that is the inning. So Scott Rowland is 0 for 2. Pujols left on base. Not for all of them, just to hear your commentary, though. Just because we've been partners for 17 years and never done the home run derby together.
Well, that's true.
Now, see, if they had it, it was a home run and hit and run and base stealing,
like that.
derby, and, you know, if it was all around, not just slugging,
I like that.
I'd be into it then, see.
Yeah, they used to have the skills competition. They used to do all that.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
You're hard to please.
Chris Carpenter has retired the first 6 Astros he's faced. And that's a called strike to Adam Everett. Cardinals, by the way, this week acquired Jeff Weaver from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And Weaver threw a little bit of a simulated game before the game here tonight at Minute Maid Park. That one had some sinking action to it. Bounce foul. There's Jeff Weaver. Tony La Russa said they'll just have to figure out when they're going to use it after the All-Star break. He was only 3-10 with the Angels, and they designated him for assignment. That curveball, strike 3 called, and that's 7 in a row for Carpenter. 3 on strikeouts. Let's go to Aaron Andrews somewhere on a railroad track.
Hello, guys, up here on the Minute Maid Express. Of course, this is the train that goes across the tracks when a home run is hit here at Minute Maid Park. And speaking of the home run derby, Lance Berkman in the home run derby tomorrow night. He was, of course, he finished second in 2004 right here at Minute Maid Park in the home run derby. Now in that one, he hit right-handed. Tomorrow night, he's thinking of going left-handed because at PNC Park, a shorter right field. He said he likes his chances in this one because he said it's a lot harder than it looks, guys. You have to control your emotions. You kind of have to pace yourself out. And he also, an interesting point, says there's no defense out there. You feel naked like you're in a cow pasture. So he says he feels a little better this time around, guys. I had to sign a waiver, by the way, to come up here.
It looks like you're up there, you're riding dirty up there, though. That's what it looks like.
Either that or come on, ride the train.
Yeah, all right. Either one.
So she's up there in the train, which is a feature here at Minute Maid Park. The tracks high above the Crawford boxes right now, down the left field line. Of course, the train, the steam engine, had a great deal with the founding of Houston. That's a wild throw by Hector Luna. Brad Ausmus is safe at first, the first base runner for the Astros.
And an excellent play by Luna to get to the ball. I think he had a little more time than he realized, but it's a very difficult play once you're running like this. So he could have taken his time, and look, you see, Ausmus wasn't close, but I mean, it's such a tough play just to, he was stretched out to get there, and then he wanted to get rid of the ball quickly. So nice try, but that should be a base hit.
It is a hit for Ausmus, and he needs a hit, Joe. He just had recently got out of an 0 for 40. Andy Pettit drops down a bunt. Yadier Molina throws out Pettit, and Ausmus moves over to second base. They'll get a shot now to get him in with Willie Tavares coming up.
Great job there by Andy Pettit. I mean, we take things for granted that a pitcher can just go out there and sacrifice. Well, Roger Clemens did it yesterday. He helped himself in the ball game. I mean, that's what you have to be able to do. You have to be able to do your job. And your job is to execute a bunt there, and he does a great job. Squares around right out in front of the plate. And he moves Ausmus up to second base.
Andy Pettit, who did not have to do that much for all those years that he was a Yankee.
Yeah.
Never even got to the plate.
Except in the World Series. That's the only time.
So here's Tavares. He was jammed and popped up to the shortstop in the first pitch he saw tonight. First pitch that any Astros saw tonight from Chris Carpenter. This time he gets jammed again, but he takes it.
Well, the one thing I think is that I think the Astros need to play Tavares because it diversifies their attack a little bit more. Right now, they're all up just swinging for the fences. And
well, let's see if he can beat this one out. The throw by Eckstein. He got it. Tavares, who gets more infield hits than anybody in the National League, but not this time. 1-0 Cardinals. Encarnacion, then Edmonds. Have been slumping for a good long while, with a chance to take 3 out of 4 from divisional rival Houston, the club that got past them and went to the World Series last year. There's a kid who thinks it just might be Christmas in July tonight, which, if he's an Astros fan, maybe they need that here. They're struggling. And Andy Pettit throws a called strike. And Pettit, who told you, Joe, that his stuff has been better this year than last year, but you certainly could not tell it by the results.
And he says he's so much healthier. He has more velocity. His elbow's not bothering him. And he says he feels like he's throwing well, but he's just been making some mistakes. And he made a mistake in the first inning. The 0-2 pitch to Eckstein. He got the 2 quick strikes, and then he threw him a curveball inside, and he hit it to left field for a base hit. So he made a mistake to Pujols. He was trying to get the cut fastball in off the plate, and he couldn't get it off.
Encarnacion ends up swinging at one in the dirt that time and may have hurt himself. Strike 3. There is 1 away. Second strikeout for Pettit. You know, one of the differences this year, Pettit has always, even though he's left-handed, been tough on right-handed hitters because of that cutter and that slider. He can make right-handers very uncomfortable. But this year, right-handed hitters hitting .327 against him coming into this game. Last year they hit only .239. The year before only .208 against Andy Pettit.
Well, you can see him drop his head right there because he threw him a high curveball. He threw him a curveball and he hung it. He was upset right there with himself. He kind of shook his head.
So he got away with one.
Yeah.
To Jim Edmonds, 1 strike to count. Edmonds hit a double his first time. Preston Wilson in shallow left center, and Edmonds is gone.
Watch this pitch to Edmonds. This is the first pitch he threw to Edmonds, and this tells the story that we're just talking about. He's trying to throw him a curveball, hangs a curveball. Now just watch his reaction. I mean, this is the key. This tells you right here exactly what he's saying to me about feeling good and then making bad pitches. Look at that. He got away with it, but he knows he made a bad pitch.
And that was kind of a subtle expression,
right?
Not being happy.
Well, I watch those guys.
But he's kind of, he doesn't wear his emotions on his shirt sleeve out there.
No. You know, the one thing you learn to do from the dugout, being honest with you, you watch the pitcher. You watch his reaction to certain pitches. And then you can just about tell what's happening out there if you do that.
Yadier Molina, the hitter. 1 ball, no strikes to count. 2 down, nobody on. Well, you used to watch it from the dugout. Now you're watching it from up here.
Well, I still watch the same way. Just to give you an example, I used to face Rick Russell, who used to pitch, you know, for the Cubs. He was some great years there, pitched for the Giants. He never changed expressions out there. I don't care if you hit a home run, you struck out, he would never change expressions.
2-0 the count. And that's a called strike to Molina. With a comebacker his first time. Cardinals ahead 1-0. Andy Pettit has allowed 59 extra base hits this year, including a double tonight. That's a base hit from Molina. The 4th hit for the Cardinals. But I mentioned that extra base hit because, you know, those are the hits that hurt a little bit more than most singles. Last year he gave up 58 extra base hits. The whole season he's given up more in literally about a half, well, not literally, but virtually. I'm going to go with virtually.
Okay,
virtually half a season that he gave up all of last year. Home runs, doubles, triples, that sort of thing. He's given up more home runs this year than he gave up all of last year already.
Well, again, I think it's what he was saying. He's been leaving a lot of pitches in the middle of the plate, and guys aren't missing them.
Well, that's why I mentioned the statistics, Joe, because you brought that up.
Yeah.
It's like the old bromide that Vince Scully used to bring up. Statistics are to baseball what a lamppost is to a drunk. It offers support,
okay,
but not illumination.
Right. I agree. No, I agree with that.
So I'm trying to support your stance here.
That's what I think, and that's what I think of statistics. They should only be used to support something. If you try to base a guy's performance or just his ability on statistics, you'll miss out.
Pop-up foul that comes back out of play. Maybe you have any, if you have some other thoughts. Well, I could come up with a statistic on those too.
We'll stay on that. I mean, a guy that hits 280 can be a better hitter than a guy that hits 300 because he can produce more runs sometimes. The guy that hits 300 makes his outs with runners on. The other guy gets hits with runners.
The Big Poppy's hitting 280.
Thank you.
Is that what you're thinking?
That's exactly what I was thinking. See, you got me. I'm going to have to. Well, why haven't you been doing this for 17 years? Yeah. Why all of a sudden now you want to do that? Because that's the truth. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm thinking maybe I could get on the home run derby.
Oh, okay.
Give a few more supporting stats.
Because Big Poppy's the perfect example.
2-2 now the count to Hector Luna. Yeah, Big Poppy is the most destructive 280 hitter this side of Ryan Howard.
You know what's funny is some of those guys may be too tired to participate in the home run derby now.
The White Sox and Red Sox, yeah, they go 19 today. Jermaine Dye, I'm so happy to see Jermaine Dye having a great first half and in the home run derby. I mean, he got 25 home runs. His name is not one that leaps out at you as an obvious choice for home run derby. But not many guys have hit more home runs than him at the All-Star break this year. Hector Luna, strike 3. All right. Big hitters coming up for the Astros now. 1-0 Cardinals. Lamb, Burke, and then Lance Berkman when we come back. Sunday Night Baseball. The Cardinals won. The Astros nothing. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. In our 17th year on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Aaron Andrews is with us tonight. Mike Lamb came into the game hitting .335. He flied out to shallow center his first time against Carpenter tonight. Carpenter with a high curveball for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dan Asogna, the plate umpire, with Bob Davidson, Dale Scott, Ron Kalpa on the bases from first to third. Curveball in the dirt, and it is 2-1. That's the thing about Carpenter. He's got a lot of weapons. He's also one of the great gentlemen of the game, one of the nicest guys. But at the same time, a contradiction in terms, Joe. He's a great guy, involved in the community, but a fierce competitor.
But I think you can be a great guy and a fierce competitor. I think that works. When you walk between the white lines out there, you are a different person.
Now, see, that I wouldn't have known that from knowing you.
Yeah, sir. Well, see, he can focus better. He walks between the line, he starts to focus. Outside, I'm just a nice guy all the time. I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just a nice guy at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3-2 the count. Look at that. Since he's become a Cardinal, 43-14. And that's the highest winning percentage in the majors in his 3 years with the Cardinals. And that is ball 4, so Lamb is aboard. We are in the 4th inning. The Cardinals jumped ahead when Eckstein hit a 2-strike pitch for a single, then stole a bag on Andy Pettit, who seemed to be almost indifferent. And then Albert Pujols knocked him in with that base hit down the left field line. And that gave the Cardinals a 1-0 lead. Wilson threw out Spezio at third base, the 75th RBI of the year for Albert Pujols, 2nd in the National League, even though he missed 17 games in a row with that oblique muscle injury. So here's Burke with Berkman on deck. Time taken. Granted by Asogna, the plate umpire. Cardinals, who really got beat up in the interleague play. At one time they had 8 straight losses. They got swept in consecutive series by the White Sox and the Tigers. And then the Twins did some damage to him. It's back to the screen. 0-1 the count. Tony La Russa says he's really happy for his old friend, and they're still very good friends. Jim Leland, the Tigers manager, back in baseball as a manager. And the Tigers had the best record in the majors. They've really been something. It's like a major news story now when they lose a game. And it doesn't happen very often. He says he talks to Leland about it maybe every 2 or 3 days. That's a ball down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. The American League Central with the Tigers up top, 59-29. And look at the White Sox. They had the 2nd best record in the majors, and they're behind in their own division. The Minnesota Twins, who got red hot for a while, they were 20-1-2 at one point. Couldn't make up any ground. 2-1 the count to Burke. Now Berkman's on deck.
What's interesting is all of a sudden he seems to be, missing his spots. He had total command of all of his pitches the first 2 innings in the ball game, his first 3 innings, and now he's struggling a little bit to hit the spots.
Lamb back to the bag at first. Lamb, I don't think of him much as a stolen base threat.
No, I think that was more for the hit and run, just to see if they could pick up a sign. Maybe he would have, lean in.
2-1 the count.
Perfect hit and run situation.
That one into left center field, but it is caught by Spezio. So there is one away with Berkman coming up. Chris Carpenter talks about how underrated he feels that Lance Berkman is.
I would say most underrated players there is in this game. You don't hear a lot about him compared to an Albert compared to David Ortiz or whoever it is. I mean, this guy, big game player. He does a lot of things great. He plays the outfield, got a good arm, can play first, can hit, can drive in runs. Another guy that takes quality at bats every single time he comes up there. He's a tough out.
I think the best thing he said there, the highest compliment, is he takes quality at bats every time he comes up there. That means that you will not see Berkman swing at the first pitch and hit it off the end of the bat or get jammed, hit a weak ground ball to one of the infielders. He may not always hit the ball hard, but he gets a pitch to hit. He doesn't just walk up there and get himself out.
Leading the league in RBIs. A fly ball. And there is Edmonds.
And he just missed that one.
And he hit it to the wrong part of the ballpark.
But he got just under it just a little bit. It looked like it was a curveball that did not get down quick enough. Yeah, it's a curveball that just kind of hangs there, and he just, I mean, he gets everything extended on it and everything. He just gets underneath it just that 1/16 of an inch. I know it sounds strange, but a 1/16 of an inch lower, and that ball's in the upper deck probably.
So 2 down. Here is Preston Wilson. And it's 0-1. That looked like Carpenter's little cutter. And it was a pitch that Preston Wilson found to be unhittable. Preston Wilson, I think they thought he was going to hit a lot more home runs in this ballpark.
I agree. I think so, too.
But he has driven in 46 runs, which, considering he has only 8 home runs, is not too bad.
Well, he's hit very well, you know, with runners in scoring position.
Look at that curveball from Carpenter, and that just made him look bad. His swing just disintegrated right in mid-swing.
Well, what happens is you're going after this is a fastball. And then you realize it's something else. It's a fastball swing. He's attacking it like a fastball. And then he realizes it's an off-speed pitch and couldn't stop his swing.
2 strikes to count to Preston Wilson. 1 out, land the runner, or 2 out, land the runner at first. And that curve is in the dirt outside, blocked by Molina. He walked the first hit of the inning, but he got Burke on a fly ball to left center, and then Berkman. Although he might have gotten away with one against Berkman, as you pointed out. 1-0, the Cardinals lead. Curveball, strike 3 call. The Astros in 4 innings have just 1 hit. Carpenter, the next guy coming up for the Cardinals. 1-0. Indoors at Minute Maid Park tonight on a hot, humid Houston evening. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Aaron Andrews with us. The Cardinals 1, the Astros nothing. As we go to the 5th inning, Chris Carpenter will lead off against the Astros' Andy Pettit. And into center field, Willie Taveras, and there is 1 away.
John, I want to take a quick moment and say something to a young man, Rusty Begnard. He's a minor league pitcher for the Pensacola Pelicans. He jumped in a pool a couple of weeks ago, and he's been paralyzed since. And I don't know the young man, but he must be a heck of a young man, because I've had calls from people, friends all over. Kyle Kirkland and his wife Sylvia called me, and yesterday Ed Montague, the great umpire, called me, said he had just visited the kid. And I just want to, say to Rusty, keep your spirits up, because you got a lot of people praying for you. And I also think today is his birthday, so happy birthday to Rusty Begnard, who is a minor league player with the Pensacola Pelicans. So, I mean, it's just amazing the people that I've heard from, to talk about this young man.
Well, we we'll also remember Rusty in our prayers.
Yeah.
And I know Ed Montague's son plays in that team.
Pelicans, yeah.
Played,
Ed Jr.
Came out of the College of San Mateo. Yeah. It's my alma mater.
Oh, okay.
He's like me, a former Bulldog.
There are a lot of ties to that team too. Jim Beecham's son is the manager of the Pensacola Pelicans.
Wow. So 1-2 the count to David Eckstein.
And I think it's also today is Kyle Kirkland's birthday. He's one of my close friends here in Houston. So happy birthday to Kyle and to Rusty.
That's a foul ball, third base side. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Eckstein, who led off the game with a single and stole second, Pujols then drove him in, and that's the only run of the game. Andy Pettit might like that one pitch back again, because with a 2-strike count in the first inning, threw a curveball the next time, got for a base hit. This time he does put him away with a 2-strike count.
Well, that's what he was trying to do to Albert Pujols. So the first inning he wasn't sharp. He was trying to get the ball down and in, as he did there to Eckstein in the first inning. He didn't do it. He was trying to get it down and in to Pujols, and he didn't get it there. So that's the reason he's trailing 1-0.
Here's Spezio, and that's ball one. Sometimes 1-0 starts looking pretty large when a guy like Chris Carpenter's in the mound.
And especially when you start to get to the late innings, because the Astros have not been a good offensive ball club, with the exception of hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
That's their best weapon, and sometimes one of their only weapons.
Yeah.
The Astros have not shown much speed. They don't steal many bases other than Willie Taveras. And even Willie had not done that much running this year. 2-1 the count to Scott Spezio. Andy Pettit rejoined by Roger Clemens in this club. We were hoping to talk to Roger from the dugout during the game today.
Well, it looks like we should be able to talk to him. He's sitting there.
He's there.
He's not pitching today.
2-2 the count, and that is low for a ball. Roger pitched yesterday against the Cardinals. The Astros did not play well yesterday. You see that he gave up 4 runs, and 2 of them were unearned runs. Lance Berkman was very outspoken about being angry after the game that they had played so poorly. Another strikeout. Scott Spezio down on strikes. 3 up and 3 down. Stay tuned. We'll be chatting with Tony La Russa from the Cardinal dugout when we come back. Minute Maid Park in Houston, the St. Louis Cardinals with a 1-0 lead over the Astros. And now we are very happy to welcome Tony La Russa, Cardinal manager, to Sunday Night Baseball from the Cardinal dugout. Many thanks, Tony.
Hi, John.
Tony, your starting pitching hasn't been what you expected the last couple of weeks. Where does Jeff Weaver fit into this mix?
Well, we're looking for somebody to, deepen our rotation. And, we've always liked Jeff as a competitor. It looks like he's healthy. But early on, we were starting real well. And like the rest of the club, though, Joe, it's not just the starters. We've all been struggling.
What about your offense? I've always thought of this as a great offense. I mean, are you completely? I know you're not happy, but what do you say about that?
Well, we're starting to get some guys swing better. I'm not too happy. We're taking too many pitches early in the count, and Pettit's got so many ways to put us away. I hope we get more aggressive early. But I like our offense, and we'll be okay.
All right. Tony, if you need Isringhausen for the 9th inning, is he available? I know he went 2 tough innings yesterday.
Yeah, and he pitched the day before, too, John. I would think because of the break that he could pitch tonight.
All right. And your guy on the mound right now is pitching pretty well.
Knock on wood.
Thanks, Tony.
Many thanks, Tony. Tony La Russa, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. And he's got Chris Carpenter on his side tonight. Carpenter's allowed only 1 hit in the first 4 innings. And there's strike 1 to Jason Lane. Lane is one of those guys, Joe, who has struggled. I mean, Ensberg has struggled after a fine season last year. Big season. And Lane had an excellent year, too. He had 26 homers, hitting the 270s. But he's hitting only 205 so far this year. He is hitting an occasional home run, but not really anything else to speak of. A ball and a strike to Lane.
I like the way that the Chicago White Sox handle the pitching against the Astros here in this ballpark last year. And I have to think that a lot of teams were watching. They threw Ensberg and a lot of these hitters sliders away, and they found that they had more success. They stayed away from the middle end. They stayed away with sliders, curveballs, changeups, and the White Sox had some success. It wasn't nearly as big a destroying of the Astros as people realize. They only had 6 more runs than the Astros did in those 4 games, but they still swept them, and they had the Astros under control. So I think that's carried over a little bit in the way that other teams have pitched to the Astros. There's a slider away. I mean, I think that's what you're seeing from other teams building on what they saw from the White Sox last year.
A guy who would agree with you on that is Ned Colletti, now the general manager of the Dodgers. 2 or 3 years ago,
right,
he had the theory that when teams are in the World Series, everybody in baseball watches every pitch.
Exactly, and they see what you do.
And that's why it's so tough to repeat.
Yeah.
Strike three.
Slider away.
Jason Lane is gone. Now let's go down to Aaron Andrews.
Well, John, Chris Carpenter, of course, going to the All-Star game for Tuesday. When we talked to Carp yesterday about if, in fact, he will pitch, he said, you know, Tuesday is my side game, my side day, and it'll be interesting for me because I'll be facing the best hitters in the league on my side day. I talked to Tony La Russa about his thoughts if Carp will go or not, and he said that Phil Garner has already got in touch with the Cardinals office and told them they will only plan on using Carpenter for an emergency situation if they need to on Tuesday, guys.
All right. That's interesting. Tom Glavine, who's having an outstanding year for the Mets, was named to the All-Star team today. It was announced that he will not partake. And Chris Capuano, who's having a fine year for the Milwaukee Brewers, will replace Glavine on the National League All-Star team. There were 8 All-Star pitchers scheduled to start today, 4 from each league. And that is strike 3 called to Adam Everett. He strikes out looking for the 2nd straight time. 2 downs, 3 consecutive strikeouts for Carpenter.
Well, you know, you're saying there were 8 starters, you know, starting today. Well, Tuesday is their throw day. So they're going to, if they were playing their regular season, they would be throwing on the side anyway. I guess my point is if that's what you're looking at, you're not going to use anybody that pitches on Sunday, you shouldn't have the All-Star game.
And that is the final out. Brad Ausmus grounds out to Scott Rowland. Albert Pujols will be coming up, then Rowland. And the Rocket from the Astros dugout visiting with us in 60s. The Astros and the Cardinals, Sunday Night Baseball, 1-0 Cardinals as we go to the 6th inning. And welcome to Sunday Night Baseball now to Roger Clemens from the dugout. Roger, many thanks.
All right, guys.
Hey, Roger, I know you and Pettit kind of critique each other during the game, help each other out. What would you tell him today, if anything, about to help him the rest of the way?
Well, Joe, I wouldn't tell him anything. As you can see, both our left-hander and Carp on the other side, they're pretty much doing what they want to do. They have all 4 pitches going, which I would think your viewers are able to see, and you guys are able to see up there. They've got command of all 4 pitches, and when you're doing that, you're pretty much doing what you want to do. So the game's moving along somewhat quickly right now, and Andy, I don't know what it was, maybe 2 starts ago, he made a little adjustment out there on the mound, and he's back to where he wants to be on the mound. He's a little more comfortable.
All right, we talked to you after your first start. You know, now we're talking to you after 3 starts. How's Roger Clemens doing?
I'm doing better. I feel like I'm getting stronger. I'm making adjustments as well on the go, and just, you know, trying to get better and stronger each time I go out.
Well, how's your hitting? I just asked you about that.
My hitting was good until the guys here got a little upset and exploited me on ESPN, and I started getting a lot of breaking balls. But, hey, before I go, gang, I want to say hello to Peter Gammons. I hope Peter's watching. I hope he's feeling better. We miss him.
Thank you very much for
okay,
that,
guys.
We appreciate that.
See you, Peter.
Roger.
Get better.
The Rocket, Roger Clemens, the word from Boston is that Peter Gammons is making improvement, and we've been happy to continue to report that. Strike 1 to Albert Pujols from Andy Pettit, and that's up and in for a ball.
So you see Roger Clemens, that same guy you were talking about with Carpenter. He's very considerate of other people off the field. But if he was standing on the mound right now, he'd be out there competing.
1-1 the count. That's into right field, base hit. So Pujols reaches for the 3rd straight time. It's his 2nd hit. He also reached on a Chris Burke error.
But you see what he did here, John? He has taken a different approach because he knows that Pettit has gotten him out in the past. He went the other way the last time at bat. Watch, he's going that way again. He is definitely trying to hit this ball to right field, and you see he does so. And that's the adjustment that a good hitter makes, because he was 2 for 17 coming in against Pettit, and now he's had 2 base hits, and he hit the ball hard the other time the other way. So I think that you're seeing him make adjustments on the fly, as Roger Clemens was talking about.
Scott Rowland now. He takes ball 1. Well, when Roger Clemens broke into the big leagues a long time ago, Peter Gammons was already a veteran baseball reporter on the beat, covering the Red Sox for the Boston Globe. And Rowland didn't get that one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals have 5 hits against Pettit. They got a run in the very first inning. The Astros have only 1 hit so far against Chris Carpenter. Pujols, the runner at first. Berkman on the bag with him. That's pulled foul. A ball and 2 strikes now to Scott Rowland. Juan Encarnacion is on deck. The Astros in the National League Central. The Cardinals at top the division, then Cincinnati, then Milwaukee. Houston is in 4th place, but all 4 teams are all really tightly bunched. But the Astros with a win will gain ground on this, the final day before the All-Star break, on each of the 3 teams ahead of them in the standings. The Cardinals, the Reds, and the Brewers. The Reds lost today in Atlanta. The Braves are starting to play well, by the way.
Yeah.
And the Brewers lost today to the Cubs.
How about the Cubs, man? Cubs are hot.
Hot. Is that the word?
Okay. I mean, they won 3 in a row.
Yeah. That's hotter.
Yeah.
There's the standings in the Central. Reds 3.5 out. The Brewers 5 out. The Astros 5 out. But the outcome of this game will determine whether the Astros are 6 out or 4 games out at the All-Star break.
Big difference there.
Now the Astros have the last couple of years been at their best down the stretch. You remember 2 years ago they went, what did they go, 38-10, something like that down the stretch. I mean, they looked like they were just dead and buried.
Well, again, that was because they're pitching and a little offense. I think their pitching can be straightened out to the point where they can pitch as well. They need more offense, and if they don't get some more offense, I don't think they can be able to make that run like you're talking about. The pitching will be there, but the offense needs some help.
Pujols running, and Rowland bounces a foul off to the left.
And you can see there again, Pujols just took off on his first move. He said he's not coming to first base, I'm going. Now watch how big a jump he gets on Pettit. Watch his first move, he takes off. He doesn't read him. See, he's not reading him. He's just taking off on his first move. And there's no way that Ausmus would be able to throw him out when they do that.
1 and 2 strikes to Scott Rowland. Nobody out. Now he makes a move over there.
Well, he has a good move. We all know that. He can pick guys off. But he also, you know, at times he'll be concentrating so hard on the hitter that a runner can think with him and just take off on a particular pitch. There's that good move.
Back to the bag again. Only Kenny Rogers with more pickoffs in his career than Andy Pettit among active pitchers. And Kenny Rogers has been around, I think, a little bit longer than Andy Pettit.
But they're still accomplishing something because they're breaking his concentration to a certain extent, forcing him to think about throwing to first base rather than his giving 100% concentration to the hitter. And that's what Tony, I think, has tried to do. That's why you saw Pujols break from second base. He's going to try to run as much as possible just to break his concentration.
Well, I think he's got to throw over again right now, Joe.
Well, if you know, it's up to Albert. He says, well, he's thrown over here 3 times. Will he do a 4th? I think this is one of the times when you just take off. That's why I stole a couple of bases. See, I knew he could take off on that pitch. Well, very rarely. The one thing about left-handed pitchers, they do not like to throw to first base, but they force themselves to do it. And he threw over there 3 times. He's not going to throw over there 4 times. I mean, it's just not their makeup.
Well, that's why I thought Albert was going to run there.
No, you thought he was going to stay. I said he should run.
No, I didn't say stay. I said that I thought Pettit should make a throw.
Oh.
Because I thought Albert's going to run now.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying?
All right, I got you. So you were 1/3 correct. You had 3 options there.
Yeah. Well, none of them happened. There's strike 1 to Juan Encarnacion, who has grounded out and struck out. Joe Morgan stole 689 bases in the big leagues.
What about my playoffs?
That's postseason.
Okay, thanks.
And some others.
Actually, I don't even know how many it was, John. I was just...
Pettit's going to have to hurry now, just in time. He wanted to go to second, but Albert made it too tight a play there, and he almost did not get Encarnacion at first. So 2 down. Edmonds coming up. Let's go to Bill Pino in the studio for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, John, Italy wins the World Cup in penalty kicks over France. Only the second World Cup final ever decided by penalty kicks. France's superstar Zidane was red-carded in the 110th minute. The next No Cups event in Chicagoland, Jeff Gordon spins out Matt Kenseth with only 4 laps to go and wins his second race in 3 weeks. Gordon is now 10th overall in points. Points leader Jimmy Johnson came in 6th. Constant updates on mobile ESPN. Next SportsCenter after the game.
All right, Bill, thanks.
I don't watch car racing that much, but you mean you can run up behind a guy and just bump him like that and spin him out?
These guys are complete gentlemen, but when they get in the car, Joe, they're very competitive.
All right. I think I'd be a little competitive after the race, too.
If the guy came up and bumped you from behind
and
like
you're
that?
winning, it looks like you're trying to win the race, and he comes up and bumps you? Man.
Bumped. Is bumped the right word?
Well, what they call it spinning him out. He spins him out.
It doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't seem right.
Doesn't seem sporting.
No. Unless you're a New York cab driver. I mean, they do it.
Well, we're in a hurry when we're in New York. 2-0 the count to Edmonds. Edmonds has hit a double tonight. And he has also flied out to shallow left center field. 1-0. The Cardinals ahead in the 6th inning. They got Albert Pujols in scoring position here. And they've not had many get to scoring position against Andy Pettitte. Inside for a ball. 3-0.
Well, I think what you're seeing here is he got behind Edmonds and he doesn't want to give in. He figures he's better off challenging Molina because he thinks Edmonds is swinging the bat much better. But if you're La Russa, you might go ahead and let Edmonds swing 3-0.
There's Yadier Molina on deck. He's a right-handed hitter. That's called strike. I don't know. What do you think now? Was he swinging if he liked it?
Well, I don't think he wanted to swing. A lot of guys do not like to hit 3-0. I don't know why, but a lot of guys just do not feel comfortable doing it.
3-1 the count. Pujols the runner at second. Strike 2 with a fastball.
See, that's why I think a lot of guys should hit 3-0 because now you're 3 and have 2 strikes on you. You get a 3-0 pitch, he's going to try to throw a strike, and you can take a shot at it. Now he makes a great pitch, fastball right on the inside corner, and now you have 2 strikes. And your objective is to drive in the runner from second, not necessarily get a base on balls.
3-0 pitch might be the best one you get.
Yep.
3-2. Pujols at second. 2 down. Strike 3 call. One to nothing Cardinals. We go to the last of the 6th. Andy Pettitte with his 7th strike. We're in Houston. And what is it, Joe? Red sky at night, sailor's delight.
Oh, okay.
Red sky at morning, sailors take warning.
All right.
Although there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of sailing going on in Houston. They're playing a hard ball in Houston. That's into right center field off the bat of Andy Pettitte. That's going to roll for a while. Edmonds out to pick it up. Juggles it. And Pettitte, who had already gone into a... It wasn't even fast enough to call it a trot. If he was ever going to hit a triple, that was it. But he was very happy to have a double.
Well, the one thing you're happy about if you're Pettitte is that you hit a gapper, you don't have to stop at first. You can trot into second.
They're playing a hard ball in Houston.
Now watch this. He breaks it down after he gets around first base. I mean, he's running. Now watch, he'll break it down right there. And then Edmonds bobbled it, and he said, well, no, I better stay at second. And I think he made the right choice.
Tavares is the hitter, and he's an excellent bunter. Trying to get Pettitte over to third. Now he's got Albert Pujols almost right on top of him from first base, Joe.
Well, the one thing Pettitte has to remember is he doesn't have to run. If he does not bunt the ball down the third baseline and force Rolen to come and get it, he doesn't have to go to third base. There's not a runner at first, so he's not forced to run. He only has to run if Taveras makes a good bunt.
And if Taveras makes a good one, he can beat it out. That's in the dirt, and he won't have to now. Pettit is already to third on a wild pitch.
Now Pettit realized he knows he did the right thing stopping at second. Well, Taveras turns around and the ball hits right at the edge of the plate and bounces away. They're going to play the infield. Looks like they're going to play it halfway. You don't have to play it all the way in when you have a pitcher running like Pettit at third base. So they're going to play halfway.
And that is not going to get him home. Albert Pujols in foul ground. So Taveras is gone. He's 0 for 3 in the game.
And one of the things I've noticed about Taveras is when he gets in that situation, remember last year in the World Series, a couple of times it seems he just tries to put the ball in play instead of being more aggressive at that moment, because a shallow fly ball is not going to get him in anyway. That's the time you have to be aggressive as a hitter, trying to drive the ball.
See, I think with nobody out, Taveras shouldn't even have it in his head get the guy home.
Yeah.
Just get on base.
Well,
you got the big guys coming up next, and he could create trouble if he'd gotten on base there. Here's Lamb. That's ripped into right center field. And that will go through. Encarnacion could not get it. Pettit's going to score. Heading for third is Lamb. Here's Luna's relay. Beef! A triple. And the Astros have tied the game.
Well, that's a good, smart play there by Lamb. He jumped on the first pitch fastball and drilled it. And that's what I was talking about. Be aggressive in that situation. Try to hit the ball hard. And Carpenter throws a fastball on the inner half, and he just drills it. A great attempt out there by Encarnacion, but he couldn't get it. He just barely misses it, but good base running by Lamb to get himself around the third with less than 2 outs. Now you see on the right side, they have to play in a little more closer to home plate, a little closer, because Lamb runs well.
This is Chris Burke, and a foul, and he too going after that first pitch from Chris Carpenter. But Lance Berkman, the slugger, on deck. Burke has struck out, and then he lined out to left center in the fourth. If he were to hit that same ball right now, that would get the go-ahead run home. Now he needs to get this run home.
Yeah. Well, because if he makes an out, they're probably not going to pitch to Berkman. There's Tony La Russa. And he's probably going to go tell him, we need this out right here. And we need to figure a way, how do you want to go after it? And as we mentioned, the great thing about Carpenter, he has 3 quality pitches with which to go after you with. And you just have to decide which one you think you can get Burke out with. They struck him out in the first inning with a good breaking ball.
Crowd is really into it. Curveball too high. 1 ball, 1 strike to Burke, who was, for the season, had 21 RBIs. He's had 175 at bats.
Not a good pitch there from Carpenter. He hung the breaking ball.
Curve in the dirt, knocked down by Molina. And he has to keep that ball in front of him or give up a run.
Unfortunately, you're in a position you have to look at who's on deck, and you have to go after Burke here and hope you can get him to either hit a ground ball to one of your infielders or even, strike him out. But you have to make him swing the bat. Good slider.
2-2.
And we've seen a lot of these right-handers from the Astros chase the sliders. We talked about during the World Series, they did the same thing. See, that pitch starts over the outside corner and then moves away.
Well, as helpless as you look there, you got to throw it again.
Yeah, but he threw it inside.
Curveball, left center. That ball is up against the wall and a hop. The Astros lead as Lamb scores, and Burke will stop at second with a double. He has come through in the clutch. 2-1 Astros.
And that is not typical of Chris Carpenter. He threw him a slider, something hard that made him change right away. You've got to either throw a high fastball or you got to throw that same slider. He throws him a curveball, and he gets a lot of the plate with it. The slider that he chased the pitch before would have probably been a better pitch. As you mentioned, he chased it. Why not throw it again? But he came with the curveball, and he threw a strike with it, and Burt did a good job of hitting it in the left center field.
And there's the pitching coach, veteran pitching coach, Dave Duncan, out to talk to Carpenter. I mean, he just made it look bad, like you say, in that slider.
Well, the difference in the curveball and the slider, the curveball you wait on. The slider, you have to wait and be quick. And the slider makes you make a decision right away. You don't have time to check your swing or wait and see what it's going to do. And that's why you see a lot of guys chase the slider, because it's hard like a fastball, so you have to make up your mind a lot quicker.
Now Berkman, they're going to walk him intentionally.
And I think from what I've seen this week, because I was here on Thursday, this is Tony La Russa's strategy, but it's also Phil Garner's strategy with Albert Pujols. They're the two most devastating hitters on each team, and they're trying to take them out of the mix if they can. And not only that, you're setting up a double play situation with the right-handed Preston Wilson coming up.
This is the 9th time this year that Berkman has been walked intentionally. Albert Pujols has been walked 15 times intentionally.
Well, remember, Preston Wilson has just been moved into the 4th spot behind Berkman, and 5th spot behind Berkman, and that's because he was hitting so well with runners in scoring position that they wanted to give him some opportunities, and he's actually continued to do that.
Well, he is hitting .311 for the year.
Yeah.
With runners in scoring position, which we define as a runner at second base or third base or both. He's got one at second. Right back to Carpenter. There's one. Luna over to first. 2, a double play. But 2 runs for the Astros. On to the 7th, 2-1. Here come the Cardinals now into the 7th inning. And the Astros, for the first time tonight, have a 2-1 lead over St. Louis. It will be Yadier Molina, Hector Luna, and then the pitcher's spot. And that is a foul. And look out, that got up into the seats in a hurry. Molina, he raked that one right into the crowd. Molina has hit a comebacker, and he is singled. 2-1, the Astros on top. Cardinals had gotten a run in the first inning and had led ever since 1-0. That's tapped foul back behind the plate, and it is 0-2.
John, I want to revisit that inning for a moment. You know, a lot of times, Carpenter went in that inning with a one-hitter. You look up, and you've been struggling of fighting all through the lineup to get to that point. All of a sudden, you look up and you see the pitcher up, and you lay a fastball right down the middle. He hits a double. But, I mean, you look for a breather in a lineup, and the pitcher's a breather a lot of times.
Another strikeout for Andy Pettit. He's got 8 strikeouts in this game.
And he's been doing it in a variety of ways, John, basically using the cutter, the fastball, and the occasional slider. There's a cutter right in on the hands. There's a slider. Another slider down and in. And that's a bigger one. Fastball right on the outside corner. And another cutter to Scott Rowland. And that was 7. And then he just struck out his 8th hitter, Yadier Molina.
And strike 1 to Hector Luna. So Andy Pettit with 8 strikeouts, and that ties his best strikeout total for the season. Along the right field line, Lane watches it go foul into the seats. 0-2 the count.
Well, this has been the kind of performance that Pettit has been looking for, so he can build on it, so to speak. Remember, we talked about that at the beginning of the game. He said he felt better, he's throwing better, yet his record doesn't bear that out. He said because he's been making mistakes in the middle of the plate in clutch, crucial situations. Well, tonight he's pitched very well. He made a couple of mistakes in the first inning, cost him 1 run, but since that time he has been on top of his game.
Luna 0 for 2 against him. And a ball into center field and Tavares. And that is out number 2. Now Carpenter will come up with 2 down and nobody on. The Cardinal bullpen has never at any time had any activity in it. So La Russa going with his ace Chris Carpenter here, even down by a run in the 7th. Now if it's the 8th inning, maybe a different story.
Yeah, no, he knows that if he takes Carpenter out, the lead could expand too.
And that's the inning. Lamb throws out Carpenter, a 7-pitch inning for Pettit. 2-1 Houston, middle of the 7th. Cardinals went ahead of the first inning when on a 2-strike pitch. Eckstein singled. Then he stole second against Andy Pettit. And a couple of batters later, Albert Pujols lined a single to bring him home, and the Cardinals had a 1-0 lead. But in the 6th inning, it was Andy Pettit himself who got it started with a double. Took third on a wild pitch, and then Lamb tripled him home. And that brought up Burke, who doubled Lamb home. And when Lamb scored, the Astros went ahead 2-1, and that's the score right now as we play the last of the 7th inning. Jason Lane has flied to center and struck out, leads off. And the count is 0-1. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, a former Astro, by the way. Along with Aaron Andrews, a ball and a strike. She's apparently off the train, Joe. We may be hearing from her again. She got a train ride up there above the left field wall earlier. I'd like to, you know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be on the train.
Yeah, everybody did as a kid.
But the train was the key toward making Houston a crossroads of commerce.
Okay.
That brought captains of industry.
I see you did a little work in political science and stuff like that.
You think I don't know anything about Houston? Come on. And there is one away. And the Astros have often, over the years, seemingly had an advantage playing at home. The Lowe's home team advantage. The Astrodome always seemed to be a great home field advantage for them. But so far this year, Minute Maid Park has been the same. They're second in the league in wins at home. They're third in hitting home runs in this ballpark. That ball is ripped foul down the left field line by Adam Everett. 61 of their home runs at home, Joe. And that does not measure up very well. They've only hit 31 home runs on the road. A ball and a strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Adam Everett, who has struck out looking twice against Carpenter. I mean, that was such a weird inning when the Astros got their 2 runs. He had a 1-hit shutout for 5 innings, and then in the span of the first 4 batters of that inning, he gave up 3 extra base hits.
Well, the key was Pettit, because he was just trying to throw a strike on the first pitch of the inning, and Pettit jumped on it and got a base hit.
And then he wild pitched Pettit to third right away. So, I mean, you think that took him out of his game a little bit?
Well, I think Pettit took him out of his game because he didn't expect that, of course. But again, you know, you go down the lineup and you look for the breather. In the National League, people always think of the pitcher as being a breather in the lineup. Whereas, you know, in the American League, they have the DH. You don't think in those terms. You try to find one guy that you think that you can get out, but it's still not the same. Everyone figures the pitcher is almost an automatic out. And you look for that when you know, and especially in a 1-0 ball game.
The curveball is pulled foul into the seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And that's what it was at that time, 1-0.
So Pettit hit a double with 1 out. Lamb hit a triple to knock in Pettit. The next batter, Burke, hit a double. And I think we were in agreement that he made a mistake on the pitch to Burke. There's Rowland. Look at that. Scott Rowland looking like the Gold Glover that he is. Great play.
Very difficult play. Anything down the line, deep behind the bag is tough, because you do not have time to straighten up. You see, you have to get rid of it because it's such a long throw. If you take time to take a couple of steps, you will not get the runner. You see, he has to get rid of it quickly, and you have to have a very accurate and strong arm to make that play.
And I mean, Adam Everett is a pretty good runner.
Right.
He runs well.
That's why he didn't have time to take an extra step to set himself.
And that's the other aspect of it on the defense, because he knew who his runner was.
Right.
He knew that he thought it out in advance.
All good infielders have a clock in their head, you know, and they know who the runners are, and they know where they have to be rid of the ball by a certain point. You go 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. If you haven't gotten rid of the ball by then, you're not going to get it, especially from third base.
This is like an infielder's version of the circadian clock.
Yeah, you have to have that, especially guys on making a double play. That's when you decide whether to throw to first or not.
Well, that curveball in the dirt, and Ausmus strikes out, and now he's thrown out. 7 strikeouts for Carpenter. 3 up, 3 down. On to the 8th inning. That's John Miller with Joe Morgan, my Hall of Fame partner who began his career in Houston. Andy Pettitte pitching a beauty tonight so far. But this, I think this may be the inning of truth, the inning of decision for the Astros and for Pettitte, because the Cardinals are going to make him run the gauntlet here. They got the top of the order, Eckstein, then Spezio, and Albert Pujols due up third. And this is where Eckstein's, his whole purpose in life now is to figure out a way to get on base. Apparently we're having some technical problems with the video portion of our feed, but we understand we are being heard, so Joe had to sort of do a radio version of the game, and there is a fastball in there for a called strike. 2-1 the count to Eckstein, who's 1 for 3 in the game. A right-handed hitter. Ground ball into the hole at short. Into shallow left goes Everett. He makes a jump pivot. The long throw, too late. Eckstein beats it out, but no thanks to the effort of Adam Everett, who made a spectacular kind of a play.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to see a play made like that that's made any better. I mean, he leaps in the air from short left field and makes an accurate throw to first base, and Eckstein, running very quickly, just barely beats it. An excellent play there by Everett on what was really should have been a routine base hit.
Adam Everett is one of the top defensive shortstops around. He's only made 4 errors all year. At this time of year, any shortstop who made that few errors is one of the top fielders around.
And you see that what they've done to Pettitte now, they're making him think about the runners at first base.
There's a throw to first base. Eckstein back to the bag. And apparently the video portion of our feed is back. There goes Eckstein, and the ball is lined into right center field. A base hit. Eckstein had a huge jump going in that first motion again, as you mentioned, Joe. And the ball was hit by Spezio into right center field. And here they are, runners at first and third with nobody out. And Albert Pujols coming up.
Well, as I said, they had put a lot of pressure on Andy Pettitte by just running on first movement.
Dan Wheeler has been warming up in the bullpen, and here comes Phil Garner. And the call has been made. Extreme disappointment for Andy Pettitte, pitching one of his best games of the year. And now he leaves with no guarantee of a win. He could even still lose this game. Albert Pujols coming up. A dramatic shift in this game with the Astros leading 2-1. Andy Pettitte was on a roll, and then that guy who changes so many games, David Eckstein, hit a ground ball. Didn't hit it particularly hard into the hole at short, and he beat it out despite an acrobatic attempt by Adam Everett from shallow left field to get him. Then on a hit and run play, Spezio singled to right center. And here is Albert Pujols, one of the greats of the game. First and third, nobody out. Wheeler the pitcher. Ball 1. Now, Joe, he took out Pettitte, who had a lot of success over the years against Albert Pujols, although Albert had a couple of hits against him tonight. Now, Dan Wheeler is 5 for 9 lifetime, or Pujols is 5 for 9 lifetime against Wheeler. That ball, a high pop foul, and that will reach back in amongst the spectators out of play as Lamb, the third baseman, gave chase. Also, Albert Pujols, with runners in scoring position, has been otherworldly this year. He's hitting .458 against all comers. With a runner at second or third or both. Right now he's got a runner at third.
Well, I'm not sure, what the real reason that Garner took him out. Maybe he thought running the bases might have taken something out of Pettit, or he just wanted to bring the right-hander in. I'm not sure exactly his reasoning.
Apologize for the audio technicalities. Right here, having some audio problems with John Miller and Joe Morgan. Sunday Night Baseball with the Astros up 2-1 right now. 8th inning, count 1-2. Albert Pujols is at the plate. Andy Pettit has been taken out of the game. And now the Cards with a chance to tie here. Count 1-2 to Pujols.
First and third, nobody. Back to the screen. Wow, he challenged him with a high, hard one there.
Well, that was a good pitch. Because he just missed him, got him out in front off of the changeup. He came back with a good fastball, and it was up and in. So it was an excellent pitch by Wheeler. Now that sets him up, you know, to do a couple more things. He can go back with the changeup. He can go away with a fastball. He can do a lot more things now that he let Albert know that he's not afraid to challenge him with a fastball.
1-2 the count. Eckstein at third, Spezio at first, and he got a piece of that slider.
Yeah, see, that's why that fastball was such a good pitch. Because Albert knows that he will throw him a fastball, and he's committing a little quickly right there. You see that? It's a bad pitch, and you see Albert just shows how good a hitter he is. Most guys would have swung and missed that pitch. Well, that was a slider almost in the dirt, and he still got underneath it.
Albert has had 310 plate appearances this year and has only struck out 25 times. He's an excellent contact hitter. In the dirt with that slider, knocked down.
Again, we apologize for the audio problems in Houston. John Miller and Joe Morgan, once they get straightened out, we'll get you back out there to their call. 2-2 count now to Pujols. No outs here in the 8th. The Astros clinging to a 1-run lead.
En español estamos ayudando a nuestros compañeros. Por eso el cambio de español a inglés. Dicen with runners in scoring position in 2006.
47 RBIs.
We're now going to join the ESPN Deportes call, and we'll try to get John and Joe's audio problems worked out for you.
In this type of situation, 8 home runs.
He's got 15 game-winning RBIs this year.
And that's with what? Missing, what, 2 weeks?
And he missed 15 games.
Wheeler. We're going to have a tie ball game. Mike Lamb had some problems. Kind of scooping it up there at the bad bounce. Everybody safe. Runners in first and second. You're listening to ESPN Deportes. Andy Maldonado and Carlos Baerga. I'm Ernesto Jerez. Technical difficulties for ESPN. Joe Morgan and John Miller hopefully can come back and rejoin you guys. In the meantime,
we see the replay. He went after a slider in the outside corner. Kept the ball in play. Kept the ball in play. The reaction from Andy Pettit.
That's what I'm saying. You know, Albert Pujols just tried to make a contact and put the ball in play. And you know, now the game is tied, and you still have 2 men on base.
nobody out. Rolling 0 for 3. On his way to Pittsburgh after the game. Pettit got in trouble in this inning. David Eckstein a single. Single as well for Spezio. And they gave him an error to Mike Lamb.
Well, it's a play that you should at least get one out.
And that's what I was telling you, Candy. Mike Lamb, you know, he started with Texas, you know, when he come up to the big leagues, you know, but that's the only thing that keeping to play every day because his bat is unbelievable. You know, he hit 300, you know, hit for power, he can bring RBIs, and that's why he's, you know, he comes from the bench. He don't play that much in third base.
259 with 2 home runs and 37 RBIs. Scott Rowland with runners in scoring position. Inside, 1 and 2.
Let's see how close. They wanted to pitch up, stay down. Osmond wanted that pitch up, trying to get him to chase that pitch.
Pettit is still responsible for Scott Spiezio at second base. Pujols at first.
Deep to left field. A lo profundo. Y no. Díganle que no es esa pelota.
Wow. 14 home runs this season. 57 RBIs. Hanging breaking ball.
You cannot leave that ball in there, you know, with these kind of big hitters that St. Louis has. Scott Rowland, number 14. Wow.
And it's 5-2 Cardinals.
Now it's a different game.
I mean, this is a shot.
Breaking ball that stays in the middle. We were talking earlier about Scott Rowland having a good year. And good hitters will make you pay.
And that's what it's been going on with, you know, with St. Louis and the Astros the last few games. All the time the Astros, they trump, but they cannot hold the lead. They always came back in the late innings, and they came back. Yesterday was Pujols with the home runs. Today it's been Scott Rowland.
You know, and everything started with Eckstein getting on base. Perfect hit and run by Spiezio. Pujols kept the ball in play. Hanging breaking ball. See you later.
1-1 Encarnacion. 0 for 3 with a strikeout. But Scott Rowland, 2 on board. His 14th of the season. 5-2 Cardinals.
And you know what is amazing is that he was pitching great. Pettit.
Yeah.
And probably if the game stays like this, winding up with a loss.
And the Cardinals, they don't have nobody in the bullpen right now. They're going to keep throwing, you know, Carpenter. He's throwing a great game right now.
Yeah, he's not even thrown over 90 pitches. But what a battle we've had today here in terms of the starters, Carpenter and Pettit. For the second time in this game, Juan Encarnacion strikes out. That's the first out of this inning. It's got to be difficult also for a manager like Phil Garner. He used Wheeler yesterday. He did his job. Brad Leach came in the 9th, couldn't do it. Had to bring Roy Oswalt. 2 days rest. Oswalt is going to pitch in Pittsburgh for the All-Star game. And then Pujols, you know, hit a moonshot, his 29th of the year. Now Wheeler comes in, replacing Andy Pettit, who got in trouble. You know, 2 singles, one by Eckstein, one by Spiezio, and the one Pujols hit to third base to Mike Lamb. Well, that was his error, and that changed basically the inning.
You have to make that play. You have to get one out. At least you got to get Pujols at the plate. I mean, at first. Then you can walk. Rowland set it up for the double play, but it didn't work that way. So,
reminding you from Minute Maid Park, Candy Maldonado, Carlos Baerga, Ernesto Jerez. Glad to have you with us for this inning anyway. John Miller and Joe Morgan. No technical difficulties are being worked on.
And Wheeler's record this year is 1-5 with 3.55 ERA. So he haven't had a good year either. You know, in the bullpen. You know, the bullpen for the Astros is being kind of shaky a little bit.
2-2 to Jim Edmonds.
Well, you know, you try to do the job. You know, he comes in, battles with the Pujols, get him to ground out. You don't make the play. You hope that you can get a ball that they can make a double play, tie the ball game, get Andy out of the hole. Now, the difference is 3 runs.
But I think everything started with Einstein when he run to first base the hardest weekend to get there to start the inning, and then the hit and run was perfect.
Perfect hit and run and execution. Late in the ball game, you get your leadoff hitter on base.
It's 436 deep to center field. Willie Taveras. It's 2 away. And boy, did Edmonds had a great play here last Friday night. Diving his back to the wall.
We haven't seen that many home runs going through center field here.
At 436, I don't think you're going to see that many of them unless it's the home run derby.
That's a long, long out.
You make a lot of those, Candy.
Yadier Molina now. 1 for 3.
And he's 1 for 4 in his career against Wheeler with 1 RBI. It's been a funny game.
Everett. Molina has retired 6-3. It's 5-2 Cardinals over the Astros. Scotty Rowland with his 14th of the season. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. We'll be right back. Well, what a way to find you out. Right away, Taguchi comes in the game, replacing Scott Spezio. A hard line is cut by Taguchi. 1 away here in the bottom of the 8th.
Took the replay. Great jump by Taguchi. Another great move by Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa, you know, he know this is the 8th inning. You know, Spezio did his job. He don't play there that much. And Taguchi, for me, is one of the best 4 outfielders. You know, coming in, you know, to replace somebody that play every day. He's maybe the best candidate.
Well, he's done a great job, and especially when John Rodriguez and Taguchi playing left field, righty-lefty combination.
If you look at it,
just remind you one more time, this is ESPN Deportes, helping out John Miller and Joe Morgan. Our friends from ESPN in English have lost their feet, technical difficulties. We're working on it. Candy Maldonado, Carlos Baerga, and Ernesto Jerez with you. The Cardinals, 1 run in the first, 4 in the 8th. The Astros with 2 in the 6th. Taveras is 0 for 3.
And we're going to tell you that this game is really big for the Astros because they're going to keep losing before they go to the All-Star break.
They don't want to go on a losing note.
It's going to be, if they lose this game, it's going to be 6 games back. You know, St. Louis and you know, the series right now is 2. St. Louis got 2 games. They got 1. They need to even this game.
Rowland, 2 Pujols, 2 away.
You know, it's amazing that we saw Andy Pettit pitch a great ball game, and 2 batters that he faced, nice hit and run, makes a big difference. You can't close out the inning. Now you leave the game losing 5-2.
Well, Candy, but if you see the last few starts for Andy Pettit, he don't go over 6 innings in the last 4 starts. You know, he's been going 4 innings, 6 innings, 5 innings. You know, he need to, you know, he haven't gone through that. So Phil Gardner, he should know that starting the 8th, you know, you have to bring somebody, you know, in there. But the bullpen haven't done the job. So he said he's throwing a great game. Let me leave it in there.
1-2 to Mike Lamb. Para nuestra audiencia en español, en ESPN con problemas técnicos, por eso estamos sirviéndoles de narradores designados en inglés. Mantengan la sintonía. Unidos por un solo idioma, el idioma del béisbol. 1-2 to Lamb. He's got a triple and 2 at-bats. Ron batted in. Ron scored. Phil Garner on his way to Pittsburgh. He's going to be the manager for the NL All-Stars. To second base. Luna can't handle it. Those are plays you got to make. Face it. I mean, yeah, it was hard hit, but
well, that ball was hit hard.
Sometimes when you see the ball coming to you that hard and straight to you, you don't know how to react. If you want to go
backhand,
or you know, in front of the plate, you know, it's hard. It's a hard decision that you have to make in maybe 1.0 seconds.
Now here's Burke. He's 1 for 3 with an RBI. Yes. We're live from Minute Maid Park in Houston. Candy Maldonado, Carlos Baerga, Ernesto Jerez with you. Technical difficulties. That broadcast, John Miller and Joe Morgan. Well, they told us, the crew from ESPN Deportes, got to pinch in there. It was official, an error on Hector Luna on the hit by Mike Lamb.
Lamb has been hitting ropes everywhere.
It's a ball that was hit very hard. Maybe if he would have positioned himself better.
Deep to left field. A lo profundo. Díganle que no es esa pelota.
Chris Burke, 6th home run this year.
He's been unbelievable.
And how many times are we going to, you know, say the same thing? Phil Garner has to find a spot for Chris Burke to play. You can't have him in the bench.
He's doing a great job, you know, especially with men on base when it counts. When you hit with men on base and you bring RBIs after the 7 innings, they pay a lot of money for that because that's prime time, Candy.
Well, now the difference is 1 run back in this ball game.
And Lance Berkman coming to hit, but Chris Burke, his 5th of the season, 3 RBIs in this game, a 5-4 St. Louis.
Ball stay up in the zone.
1 pitch to get Lance Berkman out. We played 8 in Houston. St. Louis is beating the Astros 5-4.
Sports Center comes up right after the ball game. Stay tuned for that. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, Aaron Andrews, and we apologize for the technical problems we've had with the audio and also at various times with the video and various other aspects of Sunday Night Baseball tonight. But as we understand it, we're all back to normal now.
All right, good.
Yep, that sounded just like you, Joe. Russ Springer, you were sounding like Candy Maldonado there for a while.
Hablan el español.
Yeah. There's Russ Springer into the game, and Luna launches a high fly ball back near the Crawford boxes, caught by Preston Wilson. One away. Now Carpenter is going to bat. Carpenter looking back in the dugout. They've still got activity going in their bullpen.
Well, you asked Tony La Russa if he would use Isringhausen for an inning, and he said yes, remember? But he had pitched 3 straight days.
Yeah, and he worked 2 innings in yesterday's game. Carpenter, that's a strike on the outside. And the bullpen has Jason Isringhausen getting ready. The Cardinal closer, who's had 26 saves this year. Carpenter 0 for 3 in the game. Curveball, that's strike 2. 41,652, the paid crowd. The Cardinals with a 4-run 8th inning rally after trailing 2-1. It culminated on a 3-run homer by Scott Rowland. Albert Pujols knocked in the tying run with a ground ball. Slider down and away. Then the Astros got a 2-run homer by Chris Burke in the last of the 8th to make it 5-4. Both of those runs unearned as a result of the scorer's decision to charge Hector Luna with an error on a ground ball hit by Lamb. A line drive, yeah.
1 hop. As you said, it was a scorer's decision. Well, Carpenter was very upset, you know, that he gave up the home run and obviously let them back in the ball game because he had them, you know, right where he wanted them, a 5-2 lead.
And Burke's home run, I don't think it was a home run in St. Louis.
No. But what's those saying? We're not playing in St. Louis, not playing in SBC Field and any place else. We're playing here. And that's what they do to you in this ballpark. That's one of the things that makes Houston dangerous is that this ballpark, a lot of their hitters are fly ball hitters, and they can hit the ball to left field, and the Crawford boxes come into play.
Well, yesterday, the Cardinals were rolling along with a 4-1 lead, and then Craig Biggio hit a 3-run homer into the Crawford boxes. Curveball. Carpenter doesn't get it. 2 down. Springer with the strikeout. The Astros in their half of the ninth will have Preston Wilson, Jason Lane, and Adam Everett due up. They still have Craig Biggio, by the way, on the bench. And they also have the guy who was their top home run hitter last year, Morgan Ensberg, available. They got some guys who could take a shot at the Crawford boxes in the last of the ninth, should they choose to use any of them. Here's Eckstein, who turned the game around in the 8th inning. He's had a hand in both of the Cardinal rallies. His infield hit started the whole 4-run 8th inning thing. Ball 1. The Cardinals, with a win tonight, will go into the All-Star break with a 4-game lead over Cincinnati, 5.5 over Milwaukee, 6 over Houston. And they would go in with a 3-game winning streak.
And yesterday, with 2 outs in the 9th inning, it looked like Houston was going to be 3 games behind.
Yeah.
They lost that ball game. Instead of being 3, they were 5, and if they lose today, they go to 6. So they were in great shape yesterday.
They were ahead 6-4 with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
Yeah. 8 times they had the 2 strikes on a hitter and 1 pitch away from winning that ball game, and they ended up losing. And one thing, you know, everyone pointed at Lidge, and obviously he gave up the runs. But by the same token, he had converted 10 straight saves. So, I mean, he had been doing his job.
Roy Oswalt came on in the 10th inning. You saw Oswalt there a moment ago. And Eckstein strikes out. The Astros need a run to stay alive in this one. If there's to be any coming from behind in the 9th inning tonight, it will have to be from Houston. The Astros need a run. Down 5-4, last of the 9th inning. And Chris Carpenter will try and finish what he had started. He's thrown 108 pitches for the game. Preston Wilson leads off. Inside, that one almost ran in and hit him. Wilson is 0 for 3 in this game. He's grounded out, struck out, and grounded into an inning-ending double play. That was a big play back in the 6th inning.
Yeah.
They had 2 runs in and threatened to get more. That's a base hit. Cardinal bullpen is ready if needed.
I actually think that he's going to go to the bullpen shortly. You know why? Because I don't think he wants Carpenter to lose this ball game because he's pitched so well.
He's crawling down to the bullpen.
Yeah.
That's Looper in the foreground. And Isringhausen before bullpen.
If he brings someone in, it'll be Isringhausen. I don't think he'll bring Looper, but we'll see.
And there's
he's
the
going to
call.
bring somebody. I know he's not going to let him lose this game.
Dave Duncan has already signaled to the bullpen, the pitching coach, on his way to the mound. I mean, Isringhausen is the closer.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he worked 2 innings yesterday.
Yeah.
He worked Friday.
Yeah. But I know he wasn't going to let Carpenter lose this game. I know that after giving up the bases. That's the tying run over there. The worst he can get is a no decision here if he doesn't win the game. So, and there are times during the season when you're ace, you know, sometimes I won't say you're protecting him, but by the same token, you're not going to let him lose the ball game where he's pitched so valiantly.
So now the question is, how much does Isringhausen have left to offer? He's worked hard the last 2 days. We'll find out. He's coming in. John Miller, Joe Morgan, Aaron Andrews in Houston. 5-4, the Cardinals lead, but Jason Isringhausen is in with the possible tying run aboard at first base. Preston Wilson. Jason Lane, a right-handed hitter, coming up. Isringhausen making his 38th appearance of the year. He's had 26 saves. He went through a slump earlier this year.
Yeah. But I think what you'll see, John, the first point is, will the Astros run, bunt to try to get the tying run in the scoring position? But I think what you'll see from Izzy is he'll use his curveball more. You know, he's been using his fastball, his cutter, and his changeup. I think you'll see him use his curveball more if he doesn't feel like he has a good enough fastball tonight.
No indication of a bunt there. The ball is too low.
That's interesting. You know, it comes back to knowing your players. If you don't think he can drop the bunt down, you may let him go anyway.
Lane is hitless lifetime. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts against Isringhausen. He does have 2 sacrifice bunts successfully executed this year. That's through, a base hit, and Wilson is going to go to third. Just out of the reach of Pujols, who was holding on the bag against Wilson.
Well, it was a cut fastball or a slider. He hit it off the end of the bat, but he placed it perfectly between Pujols and Luna. You see it's a slider right off the end of the bat, but he hits it in the right spot. In fact, I think that ball took an erratic hop as Pujols went after it. But a good job by Lane to move the runner over. And obviously it looks like a very smart play by the manager, Phil Garner, not to have him bunt.
And now you hear the roar. Craig Biggio is coming out of the dugout. Biggio is going to be sent up there by Phil Garner. And the chant comes up. Biggio. Biggio moving closer and closer to 2,900 hits lifetime. The possible tying run at third. The middle infield, double play depth. Center field. Edmonds under it. The tag by Wilson. And this ball game is going to be tied up. Biggio knocks him in on the first pitch he sees. It's 5-5.
And I know he didn't get a base hit, but that was a great job by Biggio because he took the first curveball that was hanging. It was up. So you're going to hit the ball in the air. He went up there looking for a pitch up. He got it, and he got the ball in the air to get the tying run home. Very good hitting there by Biggio. Now watch this. Pitch is up, so he goes ahead and swings at it just to get the ball in the air. You don't want to swing at a sinker or something low and hit it on the ground. He gets the curveball up, and he hits a fly ball, and we're tied.
Now, and that run charged to Carpenter, who can no longer win the game.
Or lose it, for that matter.
Yeah, that closes the book on him. And the Astros send up another pinch hitter. It is Eric Munson, the backup catcher, pinch hitting for catcher Brad Ausmus. He's a left-handed hitter, former Detroit Tiger, and he's got power. The possible winning run at first base, Jason Lane. Curveball up and away.
Well, if you're the Astros, you say, well, payback is fair here. They came from behind on us in the 9th last night. We can do the same here.
Eric Munson, who was not a catcher when he was with Tiger. Another hanging curve, 2-0.
And that's what I was telling you. You're going to see more curveballs from Isringhausen because I'm sure after, pitching that, a lot of pitches the last couple of days, he doesn't feel like his fastball is there. And he threw a curveball to Biggio. He hit it in the air. And that's a curveball, a couple of curveballs here. And he falls behind. Now he's going to have to throw a strike.
There's Morgan Ensberg out on deck. 2-0. Inside with a little cutter. 3-0. It started against Carpenter. Preston Wilson led off the inning with a base hit. That was all for Carpenter. It's 5-5. And he takes that fastball right in there for a strike.
So this is one of those situations where if you're Phil Garner, you got a runner at first. I just go ahead and send him. 3-1. Go ahead and send him. Because even if you get the ground ball, you'll move the winning run in the scoring position.
Keep an eye on Lane. 3-1. He is not running. 3-2.
Maybe he got away with one not running him there, but I think you have to send the guy because you put a lot of pressure on the defense.
The Astros led 2-1 at the end of 7. Then the Cardinals got 4 in the 8th, but the Astros got 2 in the 8th, 5-4, and 1 so far here in the 9th. 3-2 the count. He's not running even now, and that's ball 4. So I'm just guessing, Joe, that Phil Garner's overriding fear was of Munson being able to make contact.
Well, Munson's a pretty good hitter. I've watched him swing the last couple of days. I've been here all week. But the real key here is when you're not running guys, that's saying you're saying I need 2 more hits to win the ball game. I think if you run the guy, even if the guy hits the ground, next guy hits the ground ball, you get a runner in the scoring position. And then you need 1 hit.
Now Morgan Ensberg and LaRussa's calling the bullpen.
Well, I think he realizes that Isringhausen doesn't have his normal stuff out there, and he's running on fumes.
Isringhausen. Now, if this was not the All-Star break starting tomorrow, even with what Tony told us back in the 5th inning, likely, almost surely, Isringhausen would not have pitched tonight. Here's Ensberg. Deep center. Still back. Edmonds. Tagging at second. Lane. Edmonds has it. And Lane stumbles. He's got to go back to second. It is 436 feet to the wall in straightaway center in this yard.
Well, a lot of people say, well, the stumble's not a big deal because there are 2 outs, but there is a big deal. It changes everything. Now you can knock the ball down and the game won't be over. Whereas if you're at third base and they knock the ball down, you can score if they don't make the play. And he just tripped himself, and he was going to make it, obviously, at third base easily. But as I've said 100 times, there are 9 different ways you can score from third with 2 out that you can't score from second.
So now here is Willie Taveras. They're asking him to be the RBI man to knock in the winner. Taveras, who, a lot of his hits in the first place are infield hits.
So if you got the runner at third, an infield hit, and the game could be over. But now he has to get a ball to the outfield.
He is hitting better than 300 with runners in scoring position for the year. Pickoff play at first, and he's got him.
Oh, man.
Munson picked off the trailing runner who meant absolutely nothing. The possible winning run was at second, and the trailing runner, whose only job really there is to not get picked off. Wow. Extra innings, Taguchi and then Albert Pujols coming up. It's 5 here in Houston, and a rather depressing turn of events for the Astros to end that 9th inning. Eric Bruntlett now goes in to play shortstop. And Eric Munson stays in to do the catching. He's the guy who got picked off. And a new pitcher's come in, Chad Qualls, big right-hander, number 50. Becomes the 4th Astros pitcher of the game. And now
Here is So Taguchi up for the first time of the game with Albert Pujols and Scott Rowland to follow. 5-5 in the 10th. In the upper deck foul. Well, Eric Munson, I mean, how could that possibly happen, Joe?
Well, the only reason we know it can happen is we saw it happen, but it's one of the things that just, you know, when you're in a ball game, the winning runs at second base, your run means nothing. You should not even have that big a lead at first base where they can attempt to pick you off. Unless there's a guy at third base, you're not trying to beat the play to second base. And you see him moving off. I mean, it's not even close at first base. Perfectly timed there by Pujols and Molina. And that's the 5th time Molina's picked someone off this year. So
he's a weapon.
Yeah, and obviously your scouting report tells you that.
I mean, the last thing the first base coach is going to tell you is you can't get too far off the bag, right?
Exactly. That's what it's supposed to be. But you can see Jose Cruz in the background kind of drop his hands. Really what happened, he was still taking his secondary lead when the ball was getting to the plate.
I mean, the only thing that he accomplishes by getting a secondary lead there is maybe he has a better chance to beat a force play at second base on a slow hit bouncer to extend the end. Otherwise, I mean, there's not much tactically that involves him at that point.
No, I agree with you, but you got to remember he's a catcher. He's not going to beat out a lot of those anyway.
Yeah. Just don't get picked off.
Just don't get picked off. Now watch what happens. He's still moving. Watch, he'll still be moving. See, when the ball gets to the plate, you can't still be moving. You take your secondary lead and then you stop. Or you push, you're ready to go forward, or you push back to first base. And he wasn't.
So that really was like
stopping.
That was the last thing in the world that he ever thought would happen.
Yeah.
And Taguchi strikes out. So now Albert Pujols is up with nobody on in the 10th inning. But Albert is a one-man rally. It was in the 10th inning here last night, early evening, that he hit a home run against Roy Oswalt to right center field, and that proved to be the winner. And now, the next night, 10th inning, here's Albert again. And that's a sinking fastball from Qualls for a strike.
The one difference between Berkman, we'll say, and Albert Pujols is that Pujols has Rowland behind him. And Berkman, they just put Wilson back there the last week or so. He didn't have any protection before.
Roy Oswalt, starter from the bullpen of the 10th inning.
That was the first pitch up and in, and then the next pitch was away, and Albert just hit it away. And that's the way you react when someone buzzes you, so to speak.
Albert's got a base hit to right center field.
He's not going to stop.
And they can't stop it. And Albert, he wants third. And the relay throw is awry. And a possible single turns into 3 bases.
Well, I know one thing about Albert. He wasn't going to stop. I knew that when the ball was in the gap. Even if they cut it off, they were going to have to throw him out at second base. He was not going to stop.
Well, after all of that, it's fortunate that they finally stopped him at third.
Well, this is just good hitting, and he's been going the other way. 3 times he's hit the ball the other way today. And that's his second hit. See, he's not going to stop. I mean, that's just good base running. He didn't look for the third base coach or anything. The ball was in front of him, so he just watched it and decided I can make it.
Well, now going to walk Rowland intentionally. And that would set up the possible double play with Encarnacion, who is on deck. And you see Albert doing a stretching exercise. Now Barry Weinberg's assistant, it looks like, has come out. The assistant trainer for the Cardinals, Barry Weinberg, the head trainer.
Well, he's trying to stretch it out, whatever it is. Well, here's Albert. Take a look. Steps right on top of the bag. Right there, there was something. There was a little change in his stroke right there. Watch when he hits the bag. Right there. There was a little change in his stride. But he says he's okay.
Albert had that oblique muscle injury that shelved him for nearly 3 weeks. Although, talking to Barry Weinberg and Tony La Russa and everybody else, they all say that it's not even been an item of discussion. Albert's been just fine. This will be ball 4 now to Roland. Encarnacion coming up. Encarnacion has grounded into 7 double plays this year. First and third now with 1 out. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews.
All right, John. Well, I'm talking to Chris Carpenter yesterday about what do you do when you face a guy like Albert Pujols. Chris Carpenter said, I, of course, don't want to give that secret away if I ever have to face him on another team. But he said he's never seen a player that produces when he's expected to, like Albert does. He said, despite the pressure, he always comes through. And guys, I talked to Albert about this today, and he said, he's not looking to always be the hero in a situation. He loves these pressure situations, but in situations just like that, he just wants to get on base. Of course, he stretched it there to a triple, Joe.
I knew he wasn't going to stop. I've watched him play the game. He plays the game aggressively. What they're trying to do here, they want to strike out Encarnacion. They want to walk Edmonds and pitch to Molina. That's what they're trying to get to in this situation. Encarnacion is the guy they're trying to strike out, and then they will walk Edmonds, and then they would pitch to Molina. That's the game plan at this point. Now, Encarnacion obviously can upset that, but that's what Phil Garner's trying to accomplish here.
1 strike to Encarnacion, who is 0 for 4 in the game. To third base. There's 1. Back to first. 2. A double play.
And that's even better.
A poor throw by Lamb, but the play was saved by Burke at second base. Nicely done. Tavares, Lamb, Burke, the top of the order for the Astros. Cardinals 5, Astros 5, last of the 10th inning. And a double play to end the Cardinals 10th.
Well, watch what happens. The ball leads him to second base, so he has to go to second. He can't come to the plate. But it's a nice turn, as you said, at second base. Look at that. I mean, that was not a good throw, but a good turn there at second base by Burke, and they get out of the inning. But you got to give Qualls credit, too, because he got the ground ball that he wanted with a good sinker.
John Rodriguez now in right field for the Cardinals, part of a double switch with Brayton Looper coming in. So Looper will be listed in the number 5 spot where Encarnacion had been. And Rodriguez will be in the number 9 spot. Due up 4th in the 11th inning if Looper can get them to the 11th inning.
Well, the one thing the Astros have been able to do consistently this year, John, is turn double plays. They lead the league in double plays, and the reason I said it, they've done it with a lot of different combinations. Ensberg, Biggio, Berkman, and tonight, we had a whole different scenario there. They had a whole bunch of, they had different guys out there. You got Burke out there, who doesn't play every day. Biggio plays every day, and at third base you got Lane. I mean, it's a whole Lamb. I'm sorry, you got to do a different deal.
And there's ball 1 to Willie Tavares. Looper in relief of Isringhausen. Well, the Astros, talking about dodging some bullets.
Yeah.
That is caught by Eckstein. He does not need to make a throw. 1 away. And Tavares 0 for 5 without getting the ball out of the infield all night long. 1 down. I mean, Munson gets picked off when they're in a spot where they could win the game on a base hit, and he wasn't even the guy they were trying to get home, and now they let Pujols ball, which should not have been any worse than a double.
Right.
They let him turn it into a triple, and yet they get out of that too. Now Mike Lamb coming up, and Phil Garner went out and spoke with Dan Assumpta, the plate umpire there.
I think he was checking the lineup and who was hitting where, because he wasn't sure if Rodriguez was in the pitcher spot.
Here's Lamb, and that's ball 1. Now Lamb has been a platoon player, and he's in there against right-handers primarily. He's also been one of their best hitters, and he's got power. And that's off the outside, 2-0. Burke, who hit a home run in the 8th inning, is on deck. Lamb hitting .344 for the season against right-handers. And in the month of July, he came into the game tonight hitting .419. By the way, Joe, with all those moves that Phil Garner made in the 9th inning, he has used up his full complement of extra players. He only has pitchers still available now. So what he's got in there, this will have to go the rest of this game. 2-1 the count. Off the catcher. 2-2 the count. Sports Center right after the game. The All-Star game will take center stage Tuesday night. Phil Garner will be the All-Star manager. Roy Oswalt will be making his way to the All-Star game. And now it's a full count, 3-2. Home run derby tomorrow night. And my partner Joe Morgan will be part of the coverage of this year's home run derby. 3-2. That one is off the glove of Rodriguez. He drops it again. Into second is Lamb.
Rodriguez gets there. Actually, he doesn't jump high enough. It hits off the tip of his glove. He actually jumped a little too quickly. I think he may have been a little bit off balance when he got there, and he couldn't gather himself to make the jump, the leap.
So now here is Burke. Burke, who started the comeback with a 2-run 8th inning homer. They were down 5-2 at the time. Also, remember Burke in the division series against Atlanta in that epic 18-inning game. He won that game with a home run. That's foul. Game-winning homer in the 18th inning of Game 4 against Atlanta.
Now remember, they would walk Burke to set up a double play if not for the fact that Lance Berkman is on deck.
He became only the 6th player to end a postseason series with a home run, and he is the only rookie ever to have done it. The crowd on its feet waving the rally towels. Burke trying to get Lamb home. Lance Berkman on deck. Ooh. That one, what do you say, Joe? Had a little giddy up on it.
Giddy up, right upstairs. That's the way you get hitters to chase pitches in this situation, especially when they want some.
And that's the home run in the 18th inning. Into the Crawford boxes last October. 0-2 the count here. Look out. That got him.
Man.
And all of a sudden, that empty base that they might have had if they had retired Burke, that would have allowed them to easily pitch around Berkman, just go ahead and walk him. That base is no longer empty.
And this is what Tony La Russa's tried to avoid the entire ball game, is having Berkman up in clutch situations. And you can see the ball hits his jersey, and that's enough. It doesn't have to hit the body as long as it hits the part of your uniform.
Molina out to talk to Looper. And Berkman has had success against Looper. 4 hits in 8 lifetime at-bats against him. And a base hit to the outfield could end this one in the Astros' favor.
Well, when you look for at matchups, you figure what pitch does he have to get Berkman out with. We've talked about the fact that change-ups and breaking balls in the dirt can bother him, but every other pitcher that's a strike doesn't bother him.
Berkman leads the National League in RBIs. He's hitting .392 with runners in scoring position, and that's a foul.
And there's the breaking ball. They're going to try to throw him breaking balls and changeups, and I guess Molina didn't like where that pitch was thrown. They're supposed to be away, and you can see it's inside. And the question is, what does Looper have to get him out with? And I'm not sure, you know, that was a breaking ball, and you're going to have to continue to throw that. I don't think he can get him out with his fastball unless he sets him up with the breaking ball to throw him the fastball.
Mike Lamb, the runner at second, the possible winning run. Off the outside. Now, you might say, well, there's a base empty.
No.
But if you walk him, the infield's got to come in. The outfielders all have to come in. It becomes a totally desperate situation.
That was pretty much wasted pitch there. Molina was so far outside, there was no way Berkman was ever going to chase that.
And you could say the same on that one, too.
I mean, he's setting up so far away. I mean, Berkman can feel where he's standing. I mean, when you're a left-hand hitter and a guy moves that far off the plate away, you know he's over there.
La Russa studying his notes. Well, he got a helping hand there from Berkman. He chased a bad one.
Well, he'll do that. He'll chase the change up in the dirt, well, low, and he'll chase the breaking ball down there. And that was a smart pitch by watching him hit the ground. He said, I want it down, and he throws it down there, and he chased it.
So now 2-2 to Berkman. Off the outside. Similar pitch, actually a better pitch than the one he swung at.
Well, you could see again, Molina was hitting the ground. He wanted him to make sure he got that pitch down. As I said, he will chase the ball down. And that was too far off the plate.
All right, what about the runners?
Well, I think they're going to send them because Berkman's up there. No, they don't send them.
They're not going.
Well, I guess they figure Berkman's their best hitter, and he's going to get a base hit. That's what they're figuring. And in some cases now, if the runner goes and you got a left-handed hitter up there, he's looking right at the runner moving. It can distract the hitter. So I think Garner's saying, this is my best hitter. I'm going to live or die with whatever he does.
3-2 to Berkman. A base hit could win it for the Astros in the 10th inning. 5-5. 2 men on. And the changeup too low. And now the bases are loaded, and now it is a desperate situation for the Cardinals.
Well, the only pitch he had that could bother Berkman was the changeup, so he stuck with it. I mean, if he didn't have another pitch that he could go to.
La Russa out to the mound. So now, the outfielders all have to come in. The infielders have to come in. No margin for error. He's going to have to throw strikes to Wilson at some point. Preston Wilson coming up. Wilson, who's singled in the 9th inning against Carpenter, started that rally that tied the game up in the first place. And look at that, Joe. That's hard to imagine, isn't it, that he has done that poorly in these kind of at-bats.
Well, I think sometimes he is impatient, so to speak. See, when you approach this type of a hitting situation, you have to go up there with the idea, I don't have to get a base hit. He's got to get me out. So I'm not going to get myself out. I'm going to make him come after me. Give me a pitch to hit, and when I get that pitch, I'm going to do something with it.
So the outfielders in. The infielders are in. Too low.
And that's a good approach.
The outfielders have to get to a spot where they can still make a catch and keep that runner from third from scoring.
A lot of times guys just get over anxious in this situation and swing at bad pitches. But I think you can see right there, I mean, they realize that they've got Looper in trouble. He's the one that's in the bad situation. Make him give you a pitch to hit.
One ball, one strike. Tough pitch here.
Good pitch by Looper.
Running down and in.
Good pitch, good sinking fastball.
Now, as we get another look at it.
Sinking fastball, and that's a strike. It may look like it was just an inch or so off, but, you know, it's pretty much right on the edge.
Wilson is a guy who strikes out a lot. He struck out 80 times this year. back to the screen, and that was a pitch to hit.
Yeah, the pitch that's up is the one you wanted because it'll automatically go in the air almost, and you'll get the run home. Well, that's a good pitch to hit anyway. That's right on the inner half, right there. Has a good swing at it. If anything, he may have overswung, but he had a good swing at it.
Just a little under it.
The one thing to remember when you're hitting with the infield in like this, the biggest hole is back through the middle, because the pitcher, when he throws the ball, he's a little bit off balance, and anything you hit hard back, he's not going to be able to corral it. And that's the biggest hole on the infield at this point.
You can see it there, and you see how the outfielders are playing shallow.
Yeah, and that's all. The hole is right there, because you eliminate the pitcher if you hit the ball hard.
A ball and 2 strikes. The bases are loaded.
Excellent.
2 down.
Well, he got him to chase the fastball away. He got him to chase a pitch after he got 2 strikes.
But he needed the strikeout, and he got it.
Well, you look where the catcher is sitting. I mean, even though that pitch rings on the outside edge, the catcher is so far off the plate that should tell you exactly where they were going. But we're still in a similar situation. I mean, if you're Brundtland, you just say, hey, he's got to get me out. Lane is up. He's got to get me out. They messed up my scorecard, too.
Jason Lane, 1 for 4. He got a base hit, and part of that, in fact, he set up the tying run with his base hit in the 9th inning, moving Wilson over to third base. The outfield back in normal depth. The infield also back in normal depth now. So that hole through the middle of the diamond is not as big as it was. Jason Lane having a horrible first half. And now 1 ball, 1 strike. He got jammed in that fastball. Lane, who ended up being one of their top RBI men and home run hitters last year. But this first half, he's had a hard time making contact. He's hitting only .206 for the year. A ball and a strike. Right there, strike 2. Lane is 1 for 4 in this game. Lane 2 hits in 7 career at-bats against Looper. So now Looper 1 strike away from getting out of the jam. Lamb is the possible winning run, the guy they're trying to get home from third base. And Molina will again go out to chalk to Braden Looper. Looper has thrown 25 pitches in this inning. 5-5 in the 10. It kind of reminds me, these last couple of innings, of last year's World Series.
Yeah.
The Astros had such a hard time getting that big hit.
Or a big fly ball.
Yeah. 1 and 2. Now time is taken. Cardinals had a 1-out triple from Pujols in the top of the inning. It didn't score. Slider way outside.
I'm being honest with you. I don't understand why the catcher gets so far out there in those situations. You're not wasting a pitcher. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. So he was so far off. I mean, the pitcher's throwing to the target.
2 and 2 now. That's down the left field line and foul. Man, that ball was smoked. And it wasn't fouled by that much either.
Well, it was a fastball back in. They were setting him up, so they went away to come back inside. And he turns his hands over. You can see right there. That's why the ball hooked so quickly down the line. But it didn't hit the wall about 2 feet to the left. It was hit so hard it didn't have time to really hook. But he turned his, you can see him just roll his hands over, and that got the hook on the ball.
So Lane will have to try it again. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Mike Lamb, the possible winning run over there at third base. And another strikeout. They get the bases loaded with 1 out, and Looper strikes out Wilson and Lane. The bases are left loaded. So it goes for the Astros right now.
Great opportunities to win this game in each of the last 2 innings. On to the 11th inning. Edmonds coming. Cardinals 5, Astros 5. Top of the 11th inning in Houston. Let's take a look now at our passion for excellence presented by Bridgestone Tires. Albert Pujols leading the league in home runs. Lance Berkman leading the league in RBIs. And then David Wright just been all around excellent for the New York Mets, who had the best record in the National League at the All-Star break. So some of the top performances by National Leaguers as we head into the All-Star break. Now here is Jim Edmonds. Edmonds has doubled. He's flied out to shallow left center, struck out, and flied out deep to center. He is 1 for 4. Yadier Molina and Hector Luna scheduled to follow against Chad Qualls, and that's called a strike, a high fastball. And Edmonds questions Asogna, the plate umpire, about that one. You know, Jim Edmonds was in that home run derby. When was that? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And he hurt himself in the home run derby at the All-Star game. And kind of put him off on the whole concept. He's had a variety of ailments this year. And he went back and looked at some video of his swing from 2, 3, 4 years ago. I thought he picked up something that he was doing then that he felt, well, I should be doing that now. And he said his swing had been a lot better since he tried to affect those changes here within the last few days. I mean, this was a guy, he was hitting 35, 40 home runs every year. That one with topspin on it, and caught by Lane right in front of the wall.
And that's one of the problems that Jim Edmonds had, because he has an uppercut in his swing. And when you hit the uppercut, you hit the side of the ball, you get the topspin rotation on it. He hit the ball well enough. Watch the uppercut. See, he hits the ball hard enough to get it out, but it gets out there because it has the spin on it. It sinks instead of going up into the ball seats there.
One down, Yadier Molina, who has gone 1 for 4. One out, nobody on. Chad Qualls in his second inning of work. Right center field. Tavares right near the 373 marker. 2 down. Well, Qualls is living dangerously right now. Talking about Jim Edmonds, you go back 2 years, he had 42 homers. The year before that, 39 homers. I mean, this guy just was one of the top home run sluggers in the National League year after year since coming to the Cardinals. And last year, the injuries started to catch up to him a little more. He fell down to 29 homers. Sports Center right after the game. This year, Edmonds has hit 10 home runs at the All-Star break. In fact, that the year that he was in the home run derby, he had, I think, 30 home runs or so at the All-Star break that year.
Well, he was definitely a prolific home run hitter for quite a few years there, but as you say, injuries, taking their toll, and he's still trying to find the stroke that he had in those years.
Hector Luna called a strike, 2-1. Now in the last half of the 11th inning, the Astros scheduled to have Eric Bruntlett, Eric Munson, and then Chad Qualls, the pitcher, and they don't have any position players remaining on their bench. So if they pinch it for Qualls, it'll have to be another pitcher who will have to do the hitting. And you know what the best batting average of any of the pitchers on their bench is, Joe?
What is it?
125. And that's not even that good for a pitcher, is it?
No, but there must be one guy over there that hits home runs in batting practice, and that's what you would find out. One swing.
The best guy would be Brandon Backey, but he's on the disabled list. And that's ball 4 to Luna. So with 2 down, Luna gets a walk. And Jim Hickey, the Astros pitching coach, will go to the mound now. John Rodriguez will come up for the Cardinals. And they've got Qualls himself
has not even had an at-bat this year. Had not had a plate appearance the whole season. We were talking about Jim Edmonds a little bit ago, and who drove one deep to right field to start this inning where it was caught. Let's go down to Aaron Andrews.
Well, John, just to add more a little bit about Jim Edmonds, he had been really frustrated about the way he had been swinging the bat up until recently. He said after the 2004 All-Star game, he was injured, and he noticed he had actually altered his swing without even knowing it. Said last week he actually went back and looked at video from 2000, 2001, saw a few adjustments that needed to be made, and within 3 swings, he felt like he was back. Joe, we talked about that this morning. You said that's how important video is for these guys these days.
Yeah, it is, and that gives them a chance to go out and find out what's going on. Whereas, you know, before it'd take you a long time at bats in the game just to try to figure it out.
John Rodriguez at the plate with Luna over at first, and he's back to the bag. 5-5 in the 11th inning. Joe, I think I figured out the Astros, if they need a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 11th inning.
Who is that?
Roger Clemens.
I was thinking the same thing because he can muscle it out. I've seen him do it in batting practice.
Well, and he's, after all those years in the American League where he never batted, I mean, he actually has hit pretty well since coming to the National League. 0-1 the count to Rodriguez, who has some power. Only 1 home run this year, however. And the slider from Qualls is too low.
Well, the one thing I like what the Astros are doing, they're playing deep in the outfield. They're cutting off gappers so that, you know, if the ball over someone's head, they could score. See how deep they're playing all the way around? Because that keeps them from, you know, a ball being hit over their head, staying in the ballpark, and the runner scoring from first with 2 outs.
There goes the runner from first, Luna. The one-hop throw to second is not in time. And suddenly, the Cardinals had the possible go-ahead run in scoring position. And the steal by Luna.
And a smart play there by Luna and probably La Russa. 1-1 is a good time. They're not going to pitch out. And you can see he clearly beats the throw to second base.
Now the catcher, Munson, out to speak to Chad Qualls in the 11th. 5-5. This started with 2 down and nobody on when Luna drew a walk. Now he has stolen second. The count is 2-1 to Rodriguez. David Eckstein on deck. He would be next. Backdoor slider. 2-2.
One thing about Rodriguez, I mean, he's a pretty good hitter. He can handle most pitches even away. But that's a good pitch. It starts off the plate and just gets to the outside edge.
There's Luna, the possible go-ahead run. Ready to go anything from second base with 2 down. 2-2 the count. Oh, did he swing? No. Third base umpire Ron Culpa. Now from here, I thought he swung.
Well, let's take a look. Third base umpire will get the best view. Well, it's very close, but we're not at the real good angle. John, the other thing I like, the Astros are playing well defensively. They've moved in now in the outfield to try to, you know, make a play to the plate. See how much closer they're in now than where they were before. So now they have a chance to make a play at the plate on a single.
3-2. Struck him out. Now Bruntlett, Munson, and a pitcher due up.
Bill Pito back in the studio with a SportsCenter 30 at 30. Italy wins the World Cup in penalty kicks over France. Only the second World Cup final ever decided by penalty kicks. France's superstar Zidane red-carded in the 110th minute. White Sox, Red Sox, longest game of the year. 19 innings, bases loaded. Tadahito Iguchi wins it in the 19th with a base hit. The White Sox win it 6-5 in 19. Constant updates on mobile ESPN, SportsCenter after the game.
Now, whose idea was it to bring up a 19-inning game? See, we're only in the 11th inning. This game is still very young yet. Eric Bruntlett. And that's a called strike from Looper on the outside. Bruntlett hitting .259. This is his first plate appearance tonight. And that's too low. Bruntlett came in to play shortstop after Biggio pinch hit for Everett in the 9th inning. Bruntlett entered in the 10th. Eric Bruntlett, no homers at 85 at bats this year. Munson on deck. That's just off the outside apparently. 2-1 the count. Cincinnati lost today in Atlanta 8-3. The Milwaukee Brewers lost at home to the Chicago Cubs today. Two of the other contended teams in the Central Division. That's down the right field line, slicing into the corner. That ball is foul. Two and two.
Well, good job by Bruntlett. He goes the other way. They were stayed away from him for a couple of pitches, and he finally tried to go that way, but he had such side spin on it, just curved foul.
Two and two the count to Bruntlett. 5-5 in the 11th inning. The Cardinals with a win will have taken 3 out of 4 in the series and will go to the All-Star break, or would, with a 4-game lead in the division. The Astros would fall 6 games out at the All-Star break and have 3 teams in front of them. There are the current standings right now after the day's activities. Back to the screen, 2-2. But if the Astros can come on and win this game, the whole thing would have a much different look to it. They'd be 4 games out. They would have themselves moved ahead of Milwaukee, and they'd only be 1 game behind Cincinnati.
And Cincinnati is the only other team, obviously, in this division that's over 500.
Milwaukee's loss today put them 2 games under 500. That is outside. Full count. Five runs, 9 hits for the Cardinals. 5 runs, 8 hits for the Astros. Oh. Man, he chased a bad ball on that one. He chased ball 4.
High fastball.
Third straight strikeout for Looper.
Well, they pitched him away so much, it's very difficult to lay off of the high fastball. That pitch is way off the plate inside.
And on the backswing, he hits Yadier Molina. Ouch. Ball 1 to Eric Munson. And Chad Qualls, the Astros pitcher, is out on deck. Although the Astros have some activity in their bullpen going on. 1 ball, 1 strike now to Munson. Munson, who got picked off, he came in as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning and drew a walk that put runners at first and second. And with 2 down, Tavares up, he got picked off at first base. And I'm sure that's been eating him up ever since. He does have the power to hit one out of the yard. So far this year, Munson, who's had 98 official at bats, has 4 home runs. Pujols, Looper covering, and that is out number 2.
Scott Rowland's 3-run homer in the 8th inning broke a 2-2 tie. That's when it looked like the Cardinals just might win, but then Burke in the last of the 8th hit a 2-run homer after an error to make it 5-4. And in the 9th inning, Biggio, as a pinch hitter, hit a sacrifice fly to bring Preston Wilson home. And that tied the game, and it has remained tied up till now. Now, Qualls back to the dugout, and Roy Oswalt, who will be heading off to the All-Star festivities tomorrow, is going to come up to pinch hit. Oswalt has 4 hits in 36 at-bats this year, but he does have 3 runs batted in, although right now he has nobody to bat in. Fastball to strike.
He's got to go big fly if he wants to end it.
Oswalt, with the Astros all out of position players. In his career, Joe, he has never hit a home run. Although coming into this year, his lifetime batting average is 160, and he's hit 6 doubles in his career. The count is 0-2. Slider down and away. Back in the 9th inning, Biggio is used as a pinch hitter, Munson as a pinch hitter, and Ensberg as a pinch hitter. And they had already used Palmeiro as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning. So they used 4 of their 5 position players in those 2 innings, and then the other one, Brundtland, had to go into play in the shortstop in the 10th inning. Brad Lidge getting ready in the Astros bullpen. So Roy Oswalt is in a sort of a strange new world, Joe, getting ready for the All-Star break, because they used him in relief last night, which he doesn't do. He got the loss as a reliever. Now he's pinch hitting. Maybe he'll go out and play shortstop. 2-2 the count.
There's Craig Biggio.
Biggio's sacrifice fly in the 9th drove in the tying run. That's a base hit down the left field line. Should be extra bases. Taguchi digs it out. A double for Oswalt.
Well, you said it was a strange game. 2 strikes. He's trying to finish him off with a high fastball, and he gets an inside, which is probably the only place that pitchers can hit a ball is middle in. And he gets it inside, and he pulls it in down the line.
And Craig Biggio led the cheers from the dugout. Albert Pujols trailed him over to second base. Tried to deke him into thinking he was going to tag him out. So now they're going to throw to first and ask for an appeal, saying that he missed the bag.
He's
and
out.
He did. He missed the bag. The first base umpire, Bob Davidson, said absolutely he missed it. Let's take a look.
Well, you know, you can't really tell from that angle. Here, we'll get a better look here. Well, he definitely stepped short of it, and you can see Jose Cruz kind of looking himself.
Well, and you see Cruz looking right at it. He's the one who's got the best look at it.
Yeah.
Much better than Bob Davidson.
Right.
I'm wondering if Cruz shouted something at Oswalt about coming back and tagging the bag. On to the 12th now. Well, this one is getting curiouser and curiouser. Now look where Jose Cruz is, looking right at the bag, making sure that he touches it. Bob Davidson trying to look the best he can. Now, Davidson continues to look over at Cruz.
Well, it's still a difficult call.
And Tony La Russa.
Well, they can't see it. It's a difficult call for their Davison down the right field line. Very difficult call.
It was Juan Encarnacion went over and said something to Tony, and then Tony ordered his club to appeal the call. There's a foul by Eckstein as Brad Lidge has come in from the Astros bullpen.
John, you were wondering if Jose Cruz was yelling for him to stop and come back and tag the bag. Maybe that was an indication for Davison, because from where Davison was, it's very difficult to see if he didn't barely touch the bag, you know.
Slider that got away from Lidge right over the head of Eckstein. Of course, Lidge slider is the same speed as a lot of guys' fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. But yeah, I mean, how could Bob Davidson tell if he kicked the bag
barely
or whatever?
Touch it? Yeah.
I mean, how could he see it from where he was standing?
Yeah. So it may have been it.
Oh, now that one did get it. So Lidge, I mean, he doesn't want Eckstein on the bases, but he, again, after almost hitting him with a slider, does hit him with one.
Well, I think what happens is, you know, when you struggle against one team, as Lidge has against the Cardinals, you know, starting last year in the LCS with the home run he gave up to Pujols. I mean, it's you know, becomes a psychological battle for you out there. And after what happened to him yesterday, being 2 outs and several times having a chance to put the Cardinals away and not being able to, I mean, it plays on your mind. But you've got to be able to forget what happened yesterday and start over.
You know, Joe, I mean, from the replays, we could not tell, as you see now, the Astros bullpen, Fernando Nieve is starting to warm up. You've got Taguchi up, and this is, what do you think? Are they going to bunt here?
Yeah, definitely you have to bunt here.
Taguchi struck out in his only appearance. That was in the 10th inning.
And the reason is you just want to put some pressure on Lidge again to get to second base. And you're not sure he can throw a strike, so you want to make him, you know, have to throw strikes. Taguchi did a good job there of not giving it away if he is going to bunt.
But now if he bunts, then you take the bat out of Albert Pujols' hands.
Well, at this point, you're trying to score a run.
So you let Scott Rowland try to get it done with 2 men out.
Well,
that's a base hit to right field. And so now he'll have to face Pujols with 2 men on. All too eerily similar to the League Championship Series with a 2-run lead and 2 men on when Albert hit a spectacular home run to win that game. And this was it. The Astros were getting ready to celebrate in Game 5, but
look at Andy Pettit in the dugout says, oh my gosh, that would be the longest home run he had seen. But you know, that's right there is why Tony La Russa is managing, and we're broadcasting, at least I am, because that looked like a perfect situation to bunt in right there.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm not going to give Albert up. And that makes sense, because you got to know your people. He knows he doesn't want to give Albert up for anybody, even Scott Rowland.
Well, Albert is hitting, what, 460 with runners in scoring position for the year. And that's a foul out of play off to the right. Pujols and Lidge. But, you know, we're going back to the Jose Cruz and that play at first base. One of our replays, I don't know if you couldn't really tell if he said anything or not.
Yeah.
But he did point with his hand. Now, maybe just pointing, go to second or whatever. I don't know. But the guy was already past the bag and not looking at him when he pointed. 1 strike to count. That's a soaring fly ball. Playable. Tavares with Eckstein tagging. Eckstein bluffs. And Tavares fires into the cutoff man bluntly.
Well, Tavares has a very good arm in the outfield, and they're just so happy, the fans, to get Albert Pujols out in that situation.
I thought that ball might go up and hit the roof. That was a real high fly ball.
Well, it just tells you just barely missed it. When he hit it right on the sweet spot, just got underneath it a little bit.
And now Scott Rowland, who hit a 3-run homer back in the 8th inning, which made it look like a victory for the Cardinals. At that point, they had a 5-2 lead, and their ace Chris Carpenter on the mound. But now we're in the 12th. It's 5-5. 2 men on, 1 man out. 0-1. There's that slider, and that's the good one.
Yeah.
And Rolen has never had a hit against Lidge. That's the 3-run homer that Rolen hit back in the 8th inning against Wheeler. That broke a 2-2 tie. 1 strike to count to Scott Rolen. And the slider, strike 2. Rolen is not only 0 for 8 lifetime against Lidge. 5 of those 8 at bats he struck out.
Well, see, again, that's something that La Russa probably knows, that he doesn't want them to walk Albert and then have to pitch to Rolen.
There's Aaron Miles. Miles, who drove in the tying run in the 9th inning last night, maybe used here in a little bit. The man due up next is the pitcher. And Chris Duncan is out on deck, but now Aaron Miles is also going out on deck. And now Duncan's going to go back. And there's Aaron Miles, the diminutive switch hitter. 1-2 the count to Rolen. Rolen's got 57 RBIs. He's the 2nd leading RBI man in the club. He's hitting .332 for the year, having an excellent first half. 1 out, 2 men on. Fastball, blew it by him.
Well, I mentioned it earlier. Lidge had 10 successive saves in a row. As you see the pitches, excellent slider, another one away. He just throws the fastball right by him over the outside corner.
Well, he had the 10 successive saves, Joe.
Yeah.
But that in the middle of that, he had a game where the lead was too big to be counted as a save chance.
Save, right.
And he gave up a grand slam to Iguchi on Sunday Night Baseball in the 9th inning. Off the outside to Miles. Miles drove in the tying run with 2 down in the 9th inning in yesterday's game.
Well, what happened yesterday, Lidge got a hit him. He kept throwing him hard, good fastballs away. And Miles kept hitting it over the Cardinals dugout, fouling it off to the third base side. And then he threw him a slider, and he was able to catch up with the slider, and he hit a line to base, hit the right field. So he's going to go with all fastballs, I'm sure, today. There you see another, his first 2 pitches, all fastballs, because he found out yesterday Miles couldn't catch up with his fastball, and he finally threw him a slider, and he got a base hit. The only way you throw him a slider, I think in this situation, you get 2 strikes, you bounce it. Because he definitely could not catch up with Lidge's fastball yesterday.
Yesterday was the only time in his career Miles has ever had a hit against Lidge. 2 down, 2 on.
Well,
strike 2.
Now, you know, you can bounce a slider or throw a low slider out of the strike zone. You know, yesterday he got fastballs to get ahead of him, then he threw him a slider, and he was able to catch up with it. So what do you do? I mean, if you want to throw, I think you throw another fastball. If you want to throw a breaking ball, it's got to be down out of the strike zone.
Crowd on its feet with the rally towels. There's a slider.
Yeah, good pitch. Yesterday he threw his slider about belt high.
Well, I mean, Miles did a great job getting a piece of that one.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
And watch, this pitch is down and out of the strike zone, which is what you want. Yesterday he threw a slider in the strike zone with 2 strikes.
I think he wanted that one even more.
Yeah,
out of the strike
I would
zone
think so.
Right here.
I would think so.
1 and 2 strikes to Miles, he's a pesky kind of a hitter. He's only struck out about 10% of his at-bats. That's Stein at second. Taguchi at first. And another slider and another foul. And that slider was up a little bit more.
Yeah, but he's not getting it. Yesterday it was a slider right in the heart of the plate. So he figures if I can get it down. And he's also throwing it pretty hard. Yesterday's wasn't as hard as the one he's throwing now.
Well, if I'm him, I'm a little concerned about where that slider was. I'm getting too close to hittable. I'm going back to my fastball.
All right.
That, you know, That's my assessment.
I got you. Well,
that's my advice to Lidge.
Hey, you're entitled to your opinion.
1-2. Another slider, and that will move the runners up.
Well, now you can't throw a slider again.
All right, so he's definitely finished with the slider.
Yeah, he's finished with the slider because you don't want to, bounce it again and let the go-ahead run come home.
Runners at second and third now after the wild pitch.
And when you do that, it takes the low slider away from you. I mean, he can throw him another one, but it'd be up.
Can Miles get through to Lidge 2 days in a row in a huge spot? That's a fair ball. Eckstein scores, and right behind him, Taguchi. Miles with a double, and it is 7-5 Cardinals over the Astros.
Man, that's a tough break for Lidge. I mean, I know he's struggling or whatever, but he threw a fastball away and he slaps it inside the line. But you mentioned that earlier. He's a pesky hitter. He and Eckstein, fastballs away. You see him stand with the fastball. And then after 2 strikes, he threw him a lot of sliders. And when he bounced it again, that takes the slider away, and then he's going to throw the fastball. He just slaps it down the line. I mean, no chance for Lamb at third to make a play on it.
And they're walking Jim Edmonds intentionally with first base open now to go after Yadier Molina, the right-handed hitting catcher. His ball 2 to Edmonds. So Aaron Miles does it 2 days in a row against Brad Lidge. The only thing is, Joe, if he had thrown him a fastball before that wild pitch,
yeah,
I think he had a better shot of
definitely
of it working. But now after the wild pitch, he had no fear whatsoever that it was going to be a slider.
Well, you have to feel that way because you know if he bounces another one, the go-ahead run can come to home. So
but he knew that was going to be a fastball.
Yeah, you take the slider away once you do that, at least the low slider. And he doesn't want to throw him another hanger. He saw what happened yesterday. But you have to give Tony La Russa a lot of credit there too. He had Duncan out, remember, as you mentioned, on deck, but he thinks that Miles matched up better than Duncan did.
Molina with a pop-up. And the first baseman, Lance Berkman, takes it. And so the Astros are 3 outs away from losing 3 in a row here at home to the Cardinals. The top of the order, Taveras, Lamb, and Burke. They'll need to get somebody on for the league's leading RBI man, Lance Berkman, to come up. Sunday night baseball. It is 7-5. The Cardinals lead the Astros in the last of the 12th inning. Home Run Derby tomorrow night, 8 Eastern on ESPN, as David Ortiz, Lance Berkman, Miguel Tejada, Jermaine Dye, Ryan Howard, Miguel Cabrera, and others. And then the All-Star game for 2006, Tuesday night from PNC Park. Tune in for all the action live from Pittsburgh. This Tuesday, 8 Eastern, the Major League Baseball Midsummer Classic, as it's come to be known. And there is Josh Hancock on the pitch now. Hancock, 28 years old. A guy who's bounced around a little bit. He's been in the Red Sox organization, the Phillies, Cincinnati, and now a Cardinal. Hancock is in his 32nd game of the year. He's trying to get his first big league save right here. Isringhausen already pitched the 9th inning. Willie Taveras, and that's ball 1. Now Taveras is an excellent butter, Joe, but didn't seem like we've even really seen him make a real try for a bunt hit tonight.
I think it's out of respect for Scott Rowland, who is one of the best third baseman in baseball, and he's won Gold Gloves, and he charges the ball very well and has a very strong arm.
So Rowland really has intimidated.
Yeah, well, he takes it away. If you stay in close and you can charge the ball well, you can take that away. But now Rowland's moving back a little bit.
I think he's bluffing him.
Well, he did. He moved back in.
That's a called strike from Hancock at the knees on the inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hancock out of Auburn University. His only season at Auburn, he helped lead the Tigers to the College World Series back in 1997. And when he was in college, his teammate was Tim Hudson. 1-2 the count. Oh, man. The breaking ball struck him out. That was a beauty. One away. In the Eastern time zone, it's past midnight. Good morning to you. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Aaron Andrews is here with us. Sunday Night Baseball. And the first place Cardinals of the National League Central trying to make it 3 straight wins after their horrible slump. They at one point had lost 13 out of 16. And that's a called strike to Mike Lamb. And even in this game, they had a 5-2 8th inning lead, a 5-4 9th inning lead, and finally extra innings. But Aaron Miles with a 2-run double has put them back ahead here in the 12th, and now Hancock tries to get his first big league save. And Lamb way late on that one. Lamb has had an RBI triple. He's reached on an error and scored a run just ahead of Burke's home run, and he's hit a double, which the Astros, Phil Garner, as he heads to the All-Star game, he's going to be seeing that double and their inability to get him home at long last all night long. They had the bases loaded and 1 out in the 10th inning. An inning that started with Lamb's double, and Preston Wilson struck out and Jason Lane struck out, and they left them loaded. A soaring pop-up. Pujols is going to let Luna take it. 2 down. Now it's up to Burke, the hero of the 18-inning division series victory over the Atlanta Braves last October. His home run ended that game and that series. And tonight he's had 3 RBIs, a double in the 6th inning that put the Astros ahead briefly at 2-1, and then a 2-run homer in the 8th inning that brought them to within 1 run. Started the comeback. Now he's trying to get on base for Lance Berkman. 0-1. How about the rally for the Cardinals, Joe? David Eckstein hit by a pitch against Brad Lidge. And Taguchi in what ordinarily you'd figure a bunt situation.
Right, exactly.
La Russa had him swing away, and he hit a single to right. And Pujols went down. Rolen went down. And a pop-up. He was lunged at the pitch. Pujols in foul ground. And the Cardinals have made it 3 in a row. And the Astros go to the All-Star break 6 games out in the National League Central. The Cardinals with a 4-game bulge over Cincinnati in the Central as they end the first half on a high note.
Well, they did the job after losing the first ball game. They bounced back and got the job done. Now they have a comfortable lead in the East Central.
See you tomorrow night in the Home Run Derby, and then next Sunday on Sunday Night Baseball. John Miller for Joe Morgan and Aaron Andrews. Good night from Houston.